Hello there, and welcome back to Cinema Conversations, a place for all cinephiles where we talk about everything cinema related. If this is your first time, we would like to welcome you, one and all, if you're here for. So toss us a like and subscribe, and comment below. If you find this chat interesting or boring or whatever, it doesn't matter. We like all feedback. However, if this isn't your first time, welcome back. Tonight, we have John again from Boneyard Cinema. And unfortunately, Kieran won't be with us as he is attending a wrap party for a film he's recently starred in called The Charity Case. So hopefully we'll be talking about that next time with Kieran, how the filming went and his own role in it. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome back Mr. John Rennie of Boneyard Cinema. Come in, John. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Kerry. Hello. How you doing? All right.
So, how have you been since, John?
Excellent. Excellent.
Hello, Perry.
Hi, Perry.
You've been excellent. That's awesome. Have you recovered from your own stream there last weekend?
I have, yes. I was a little bit hungover in the morning after my first stream.
Okay.
Because I had
It was a good one, I have to say.
Thank you very much. I had more than a fair few beers when I was doing it because of nerves. But I'm on the. I'm not on the beers tonight. I'm on the hard stuff tonight. So
Adam's ale, or John's ale in this case. So yeah, tonight we're going to be talking about our influences, cinematic, and what impact they have had on our filming, or filming, I suppose. Yeah, our film appreciation and our own style of cinema. In your case, John, because you make your own cinema. So we're going to do it a little bit different. We're going to be talking about for 10 minutes roughly on that certain director, and in that 10 minutes, it's not to convince you to like their films or whatever. It's just basically kind of a speed round, if that makes sense.
It does, yes.
So if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to ask them. That's what we're here for, to listen to you and take your suggestions on board. And without further ado, Adam's here. Yay!
Hey, Adam. All right. Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. So we're going to flip a coin, a virtual coin.
A Bitcoin.
A Bitcoin, Trump coin. Oh, no, not his head. No, forget that. Okay, wait. Right, virtual coin. Call it. friendo?
Tails.
It's Tails.
So does that mean I get to go first?
Well, you can choose first or second.
I'll go first.
Okay. Right, I'll get the timer set up then on the phone.
All right, so we've got 10 minutes then to talk about someone. Well, I'll just go chronologically. I won't mention George Romero was a big influence, but I talked about him. I think we talked about him during the Stephen King, the first one that we done Stephen King, didn't we? Quite a lot. So George Romero was obviously a big influence.
Okay, just a second note.
All right, but there's a couple more I can get into.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Ready when you say when you're ready.
Yeah, go. I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay. Go.
So this one's a bit. I don't know if it's a wild card or not to start.
Okay.
But Dennis Hopper, who directed Easy Rider.
Okay.
So cool. Dennis Hopper has inspired me my whole life ever since I saw Easy Rider as a kid. I mean, I saw Easy Rider, must have been about 12 or 13 years old. So just at that kind of right time when I was starting to think independently or more independently. And I didn't understand it at first, Easy Rider, because obviously I was young and I hadn't had a lot of life experience yet. But I had an uncle, kind of Mac, like a step uncle, and he was a motorbiker, and he used to work at the gas port actually with my dad. But he would nick off on his bike like for weekends and stuff. So he was kind of an Easy Rider type guy. And I remember him saying to me, "John, you just don't understand it. It's an absolutely amazing film." And sometimes it just takes someone like that in your life to say, "No, you're wrong about that. Like, go back and watch that again." Yeah. And he like said, just think about the nature of freedom when you watch it. And obviously I'm 12 or 13. I don't know what the nature of freedom is yet. But when I went back and watched it again the second time, I did kind of realize there is something different here.
Yeah.
And we just want to watch it
again. A lot of, it was New Hollywood, like as we mentioned before, about Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, Arthur Penn, yeah.
Do you think it influenced a lot of filmmakers of the,
well, I think it definitely influenced the studios. It's someone like Robert Evans, who did Rosemary's Baby and The Godfather. I mean, that influenced him enough to say, okay, I'll give Coppola a chance. I'll bring Polanski in and give him a chance. People like Coppola had done The Rain People. We did that horror movie with Corman. I talked about it in one of my videos the other week, Dementia 13. Yeah. So he had a bit of a track record. Someone like Polanski had a bit of a track record already. So a film like Easy Rider, I think, gave someone like Robert Evans enough of a grip to say, okay, we'll give these new young studio filmmakers a chance.
Okay.
And I mean, the story of Easy Rider, actually, it's not as off the rails as people think. Because before then, you'd had Roger Corman, who did The Wild Angels with Peter Fonda. Dennis Hopper had done, I think it was The Glory Stompers. So they've both done biker movies before. It might have been Jack Nicholson who done The Glory Stompers, but they'd all done biker movies before. Biker movies were popular, so they weren't really taking that much of a chance by making a biker movie because they figured we'll make some kind of profit off it. But one of the big things about Easy Rider that I noticed the first time around was that it is, I think, the first movie to ever use music that was of its time. They didn't get someone to compose music. I mean, this is before 2001, I think, right?
For contemporary.
Yeah. So and they use contemporary music of the day to score the movie. And the story goes, Crosby, Stills, and Nash was supposed to do a soundtrack for it, but Hopper had put a temp track on there of Jimi Hendrix, the Byrds, music of the day, and Stills and Nash. Crosby said, we can't do better than this. Just leave this music on the film, and that was a big deal.
Well, they were big counterculture icons as well, musically.
Definitely. I mean, it was music of the time, but it wasn't music of the 50s and 60s generation. It was, people in their 50s and 60s age-wise. It was the youth. Yeah. I mean, Hopper was quite old. Considering he was in his 30s. Jack Nicholson was pushing, I think he was pushing mid-30s towards 40 when they made this. But so they've been around for a long time. There were seasoned actors. So in my study of it, later on when I studied it as a film student, I studied Laszlo Kovac's cinematography. It was like a beautiful whirlwind of all the right elements came together at the right time. I mean, you've got Terry Southern, who wrote Doctor Strangelove, writing part of the script for, what was scripted, because a lot of it was improvised when they was baked out of the brains. They really were smoking all that dope when they were making Easy Rider.
Yeah.
But Dennis Hopper, that film just took someone to see it. It was go back and watch it again, and it changed my whole views on film. It really did. It was one of those movies. And Hopper, for that reason, I studied his directing my whole life. He did a film called Out of the Blue with Linda Mance, which is absolutely breathtakingly fantastic. It got a BFI release not long ago. It is an incredible film, a music that uses the music of its time again. He directed Colors with Sean Penn and Robert Duvall about the two cops in Los Angeles, which has a I think it was a Herbie Hancock score, which is a fantastic score. I think it was.
So that would have been what, early 80s, was it?
Yeah, late 80s, I think it was. I think it was
okay.
late 80s, 88, 89, Colors. He also did a great movie after Easy Rider called The Last Movie, which is even more out there than Easy Rider, even more independent, which is that could be a whole episode in itself. But Hopper was never a boring director. And as I got older, I kind of figured, watching other people's movies, other people's performances, Hopper's a true original. There's no other director quite like him. If you watch his editing in Easy Rider, you watch his editing in The Last Movie, you watch his directing style and editing in Colors and Out of the Blue.
Yeah.
There's no one like him. He's an incredible, incredible filmmaker. He did a great noir called The Hot Spot with Don Johnson, young Jennifer Connelly, and Virginia Madsen, which is a beautiful looking film. And he also did a kind of cop, two Navy cops called Chasers, where they have to kind of deliver a prisoner. It was kind of not a rehash, but it was almost like The Last Detail, but with two guy naval officers and a girl. And that was just kind of a fun romp.
He sounds like he was a kind of an actor's director.
It was just never boring. His films were never boring. He did disown a film he made called Catch Fire, which actually recently got a Blu-ray release. And it was kind of a director's cut. So that put some of his original vision back into it. And that was really good. It was actually after he died. I was a bit gutted he never got to see that released. Because that was one of them movies where he put an Alan Smithy movie on it.
Oh, right. Okay.
But it's a great film. You got Vincent Price, Dean Stockwell. You got Jodie Foster in there. Dennis Hopper in the lead. Bob Dylan pops up as this crazy artist with a chainsaw. He was a countercultural hero, but for me, also a directing hero and a big influence on me, because Hopper, unlike any other director, just said, take chances.
Yeah.
Take chances in your directing, because you might never get to direct another film again. And I love that. And that's what really inspired me about his movies, and him putting a political message in his work as well. Not so much the latest. I mean, the Colors is pretty, it's got a political message to it, and a kind of societal message to it. I mean, the cops have got the hardest job in the world in that film, and it doesn't shy away from saying that these guys are doing one of the hardest jobs in the city. It's a very, very great. I'd recommend Colors to any fans of cop genres. I think it's one of Sean Penn's best performances. Robert Duvall knocks it out the park.
That was what, 80 as well, was it?
Yep, I'm pretty sure that was late 80s. I think it might have been 88 or 89. But Colors is breathtaking. And you got Maria Conchita Alonso in there as well, who I love, who I can kind of do 6 Degrees of Bacon with another director that I'd like to mention later with her. But evening, Realm of Horror.
Hey, Simon.
So that would be, we're getting towards the 10 minutes now. I've talked quite a bit.
1 minute 38.
1 minute 30 left. So if I was to recommend where you'd start with Hopper, I would say start at the beginning. Start with Easy Rider, and then go to his second movie if you haven't seen it, The Last Movie, and it's readily available now. Actually again after his death, which was disappointing. Never really got to see a good release of that film while he was alive. But Last Movie is far out. It's a far out movie, even further out there than Easy Rider. But if you want to see a fantastic work by a director who knew exactly what he was doing, check out Colors with Robert Duvall and Sean Penn and Maria Conchita Alonso. It's absolutely fantastic. And it just shows that even though he only directed a handful of movies, he's a director that inspired me more than most, because he said, do whatever you want and fight for what you want to do as a director, with the studio because you might never get a chance to direct again. And that's why I love the work of Dennis Hopper as a director, an actor too, but that's why I love his work as a director.
Cool. Very good. With 30 seconds to spare.
And that's the end of that chapter.
Just going to see what Adam says there. I saw the Waterboys live recently, and the influence Dennis Hopper had on the album was huge. On the band is huge. Their newest album is called Life, Death, and Dennis Hopper. That's good because
he's an artist. He's a true artist, Hopper. Yeah. I mean, he was a poet. He was a painter. Beautiful books of photographs. He's an incredible artist, I think.
Well, I tell you something about the Waterboys. Mike Scott. He lives in that way from us, so it's not that far away. He's based there now, and he's spoken to local press about his influences, and he's actually spoken about Dennis Hopper. He loves his films and his acting work. Didn't really talk about his directing work as you have, but the influence is there, and as you said, Adam, it's huge. So Simon, aka Realm of Horror, is not feeling so good. Sorry to hear that, Simon. Feeling mentally drained, having a quiet night in, couldn't be bothered to go out this evening. Well, I hope you feel better soon, and if you need to talk, reach out to somebody, and hopefully reach out to somebody you trust. And that's if you feel ready.
Yeah. Man.
So my pick, I'll start the countdown once I give you who it is. It's an Italian director.
All right, Italian.
Yes. Now that could be anybody, really, couldn't it? It could be.
I mean, I was going to say, the first one that springs to mind for me is Bertolucci, the Italian.
No, it's not quite Bertolucci. No.
Fulci would be second for me.
No, not quite. But you're on the right track.
On the right track. So Fellini.
I would have said him as a wild card.
All right.
But a lot of his work is, it's surreal, and I want to save that kind of thing for another director.
Surreal Italian cinema. It's
well, that's for Fellini, I think.
Right.
But I'll tell you who it is, and I'll start the countdown.
All right.
Senor Argento. Dario Argento.
One of the best. That should have been the first thing that sprung to mind.
Yes, the master of Gialli, or Giallo, whatever. I think Gialli is the plural.
Aye.
For me, it's just his. He made such interesting films when he started out first. Now he started out as a writer with Once Upon a Time in the West.
With Bertolucci too, right? Him and Bertolucci worked on that together.
Sergio Leone, yep. In 1968.
I think it was him and Bertolucci said they only got paid about $300 each or something for writing the script.
Yeah, they didn't get paid that much compared to Leone and the actors. But I think it was kind of a favor because Argento is known in Italian television. Before he made the leap to making his own films. So Leone probably thought, I want to get away from The Man with No Name. Let's make a different kind of Western. Let's Once Upon a Time in America, which was the third film of the series.
It's like, it's Once Upon a Time in the West. It's like a beautiful opera. It's like
it is a beautiful film. It's beautifully scored as well.
Argento was in there, man.
Yeah,
he really is. When you see somebody, Argento was involved with the script. It's like a lot of stuff clicks into place. I mean, there's a lot of characters, like the guy who owns the railroad on the crutches. He's a very, very Dario Argento character.
Yes,
he really is.
I think you see, when we talk about his films, you talk about the Giallo and his animal-themed output, like Four Flies and Grey Velvet. The Bird of the Crystal Plumage, Cat o' Nine Tails, and then
which one's the amazing one with the beheading in the car? Is that Four Flies?
Yes.
Whether it's right at the end, the car crashes into the truck and the killer gets beheaded.
Yes, it is Four Flies. Yeah.
I love that ending.
I think Richard Donner nicked that for the Omen.
The flipping Robert David Warner.
Yes. Yeah. But now, he made giallo and Italian horror stylish to
Yes.
me. Like you can talk about Bava, and he was a big influence on Argento.
I've
But I think,
just recently discussed The Whip in the Body. I think it's a great film, that Mario Bava's Whip in the Body.
yeah, he made Italian horror cool,
He did.
whereas Argento made giallo, in my opinion, cool.
He is a very cool director.
Yeah,
I find Argento cool when he talks.
yeah. Even like, I like the fact he plays with people, as in, like something like Suspiria.
Yeah.
The script initially was for young girls, hence the childish dialogue.
Yes.
But obviously they weren't cast because of, it wouldn't get made if it was like, like you get Jessica Harper and Udo Kier, but I think if you want the two best films Argento made, first Deep Red, or as I always call it, Profondo Rosso, the Italian name of it, and Tenebrae, the second of the Three Mothers trilogy. Now, opera, I know you talked about opera in one of your reviews there a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, opera, and I love Inferno, I think. It's difficult. It's difficult. I mean, I do Inferno. I've probably watched that the most.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the reasons why I've got a pink light on, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
I'm hoping I got a red, yellow, and
it's just one of the most beautiful looking movies I think I've ever seen, Inferno.
Yeah.
It really is. And I mean, Bava actually helped direct some of it when Argento was sick towards the end of it.
Oh, right.
I think he directed some of the stuff in New York, I think. Tenebrae, yeah. And I mean, Simon, Realm of Horror, loved Argento's earlier stuff, but pretty much everything after opera was... I agree. He actually did that movie Giallo, and
that's right. Yeah,
with two brilliant actors too. You had Adrian Brody and Emmanuel Senier in there, and I mean parts of that were laughable, and I don't think it was supposed to be. It was
no, I think it was meant to be tongue in cheek.
Yeah, he lost it. He did. There was for me. I did like Dark Glasses a lot.
I haven't seen that,
and I thought that was a bit of a comeback. Not as great, but I thought it was a bit of a comeback. But I agree, like. Realm of Horror, there was a couple of years there where he lost it, like I think totally. And that's not to get down on him. I mean, a bad Argento film is still a really watchable movie.
You see, that's the thing. I think all directors go through that.
Yeah, I mean, he was a director from the 60s, and you got 60s, 70s, 80s. I mean, 3 decades where he kind of nailed it. And then technology changes so much, and you think he's learned to work a very certain way, and then he has to try and adapt to digital technology and a new way of shooting and faster editing and different styles. And I mean, especially the card player where he's using that kind of solitaire computer style graphics. A lot of that just didn't work.
I think he embraced it.
He did.
He didn't, stay static like with some directors. Just stay like what they know.
Yeah.
We talked about Cronenberg last time out, how he started with body horror and then he went up to psychological dramas and, the likes like that. So he didn't stay still.
He didn't. And I mean, there is, and you've got to give it to him. You have. I mean, I'm a huge Rutger Hauer fan. I've got a big picture poster up there behind us. I really love Hauer. He's one of my favorite action. Well, he is my favorite action star, my favorite action hero. But he did Dracula 3D with him. And I actually did see that in 3D. It was on the cinema here for about a week in the UK, and that was a little art theater with about 20 seats. It wasn't. It didn't get a big release, and it was very poor. But he totally embraced CGI with it, and I think it was like it must have been a playground for him to try and use that. That's kind of the only way I can, as a Argento fan, and I mean this. I mean this with all my heart. I am a big Dario Argento fan, huge. But all I can think of to try and explain it in his filmography is that it was a CGI playground for him. And there's other directors, which I have this too. Paul Schrader did The Exorcist Dominion.
That's right,
and some of the CGI is awful. But I've got to look at it as these filmmakers were trying to learn a new way of making movies. And that's kind of one of the only ways I can explain away Dracula 3D, because the performances are bad. And you've got Rutger Hauer and Dario Argento in there, and there's a Thomas Christensen who plays Dracula in that. And
I haven't seen it in all honesty.
but again, like Card Counter and especially Jello, there's a few moments where it's like, what you doing? You know, what you doing, Argento?
Well, I think you see, as I said earlier, he likes to play with people.
Yes.
But I remember seeing an interview he did. I think it was with Mark Gatiss.
Oh, cool! I really like his stuff.
And he was talking about, his influence he's had on Gatiss, like, and Gatiss was speaking English to him.
Yeah.
And there was a translator, translating into Italian. And then suddenly Argento just speaks English. Like, he can speak English all the time. But
I know. I know exactly what you mean. I've done videos about him before. I did a one. I was actually when Dark Glasses came. Well, not actually when Dark Glasses came out, because I didn't watch Dark Glasses for a while because I just thought, what's the point? I'm probably not going to enjoy it. And then I waited till the Blu-ray came out, bought the Blu-ray, and I did actually enjoy it. So I made a video about it, saying, "Oh man, I think he's came back, or at least he's found his footing again in modern films, in modern times."
I really want to see Mother of Tears, just to say, like, I've seen the trilogy.
There's moments in Mother of Tears I like, but there's also moments with CGI ghosts and stuff where it's just like, Udo is really good in it, but there's like this terrible CGI ghost in it, and it's just like, oh man, it's like literally some kid playing with overlays. Some of it looks.
Oh no!
I know it, but there's moments. There is moments.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it's funny, Realm of Horror, you've just mentioned Trauma was like a poor imitation of his earlier works. Like you say, all his films are watchable, definitely, but the more recent ones are subpar. I think with Trauma, he tried to recreate his Jellos for an American audience, and he was trying to repeat what he'd done years before with Trauma, and it didn't translate.
I think that's the thing. You see a different audience as well.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, great cast. You've got James Remar and some great actors in there. Brad Dourif, another one of my favorites.
But like, giallo is an acquired taste, I think, for most people.
Yeah.
It's giallo. It's basically pulp detective novels.
Totally.
Made into films.
I mean, I think you can see a lot of it in Tarantino. I think he must love giallo. I think you see a lot of it in that. He did an episode of CSI that I edited a video on recently for another channel, Squabblebox HQ. And there's lots of the gloves and stuff, the leather gloves and things. And
yes.
I think there's a lot of that in his work, like people getting ready. I think there's a lot of Argento and Italian cinema in general, actually, in Tarantino's work.
Well, that's my time up now.
Oh, that was great. I want to keep talking about. Come have another 5 minutes. I really like talking about Argento.
Well, maybe another time.
All right, we're out of time. All right. Yeah. But I do agree, though. I mean, we've pretty much nailed it. I think he was master of the world there for about 3 decades, wasn't he?
And yeah, definitely. And
then he kind of lost his way a bit.
But I think I'm not going to cheat here, but I think for me, like Simon was saying, after Opera, I think after Phenomena, it went downhill. Yeah, I went downhill.
I do love Donald Pleasance's performance in Phenomena.
Yeah.
And I love the soundtrack, but there was one track done by bass player from the Stones, Bill Wyman.
All right, okay.
So, the opening music when Argento's, I can't remember his other daughter's name, but the daughter who gets her head smashed through the glass at the beginning of Phenomena.
Australia.
Australia, Argento. But I do love Phenomena too, and I love the hard rock score in. I think I really like the hard rock with it. Well, I guess you call it metal. It's metal, isn't it? The score, but it's a really cool score.
Well, yeah, kind of. Yeah, I was going to say progressive, but that would be more with Goblin.
Motorhead's in there, I think, if I remember rightly, which is a really good song as well. But I really do love that opening. I think it's a beautiful opening, that when the girl gets off the bus and she's alone, and then she walks off to the waterfall, and then her head gets broken through the glass and the slow motion. It's a really cool opening, that to a movie. It's like
that's when he I think for a lot of his films he remained consistently with always an eye-catching, beautiful opening.
Always. He's it's some of his set pieces, man. I mean, I really liked the one. To go back to Dark Glasses, which I really liked about it was with the woman being blind and the little kid helping her. I can't remember his name. I think it was Chen. But there's a part where they get stuck in the countryside and they're trying to hide from the killer and they go into a pool of water and there's loads of eels and snakes in the water. And man, it creeped us out just like the earlier set pieces did. Like the kind of pit of dead bodies in Phenomena, or you get the fire at the end of Inferno, you know, and that it was a really cool set piece where they got stuck in the countryside at the end. I really liked that bit of Dark Glasses. I don't think it wasn't as good as the originals, but he was coming back to it, and I really hope he does another one. I really liked him in Gaspar Noé's Vortex. He was really good as an actor in that.
Yeah, I was going to mention him as an actor because he doesn't get enough love as an actor.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and like, you know, you should Hopper. So,
well, he grew up in a showbiz family. I mean, his dad was a producer, I think, and his mother was a fashion photographer. So he said he saw, you know, the stars of the day like Sophie Loren and things getting photographed by his mother. So he kind of grew up in that awesome environment, and that's why he said he always makes, or at least tries to make, people look beautiful in his films, because he learned that from his mother. He was watching her doing the beautiful lighting on people's faces, and you know, and watching beautiful women. She was mostly photographed women, so it was great. It's great to hear him talk about. I love him when he talks. That's what I mean by he's cool when he talks.
Yeah,
he likes to talk about himself too. He's got quite an ego, I think, which is I really like though. It's I think some of the best directors have got to have a bit of an ego.
I think the same interview with Gatiss, he was saying about he was asked, you know, why does so many women die in his films? Is he misogynistic or whatever? And he's basically saying he loves women, and that's why, because you know, if you make someone uncomfortable with the thought that, you know, certain things happen in certain films, they become desensitized to it.
I mean, it's a massive, it's a big conversation to have that, and I mean, but I don't think he's misogynistic at all.
No,
I really don't. I think he makes people look beautiful because he shoots films, and this is why I had trouble transitioning into digital and modern films, because Argento shoots like Bava, well, not like them, but similar.
Yeah,
because they came from a time when cinema was beautiful. You know, Fulci, Bava, Argento. You know, you've got NGOG. Exactly. You know, I mean, you've got all the films, no matter the budgets, look fantastic. I mean, the new 4K of Flesh Eaters looks absolutely unbelievable. But to me, Flesh Eaters looked unbelievable on VHS.
Yeah,
you could tell the difference in Argento and Fulci when you watched low budget British films or low budget American cinema horror. You can see a difference. Italian cinema comes from a grand tradition of making things look beautiful and operatic. You know, like Bertolucci. Bertolucci and Fernando Scarfiotti, these fantastic, you know, directors, production designers. Bertolucci and director. I mean, Argento did that beautiful opera of Macbeth, and when you see the sets and stuff he built, they're incredible for it. And I mean, sorry.
I was going to say, when you said about that, you ever hear Cinefix?
Yes.
They did a countdown of 10 most beautiful films, and I think number 5 was The Conformist.
It's Fernando Scarfiotti did the production design for that. He's he died young, unfortunately, because he got AIDS, but the best production designer in the history of cinema, I think. And him and Bertolucci, he won the Oscar for Bertolucci's The Last Emperor, but he also did Cat People with Paul Schrader and American Gigolo in the States. He also did Venom, actually, which is a beautiful looking film with Oliver Reed. Not the best film in the world, but a beautiful looking film. And it's just, they come from a grand tradition of this, and they always do. Argento's films look absolutely stunning in the widescreen that he shoots in. You know, I mean, even the close-ups are super wide, and he fills them full of so much detail. I mean, that you mentioned Deep Red, and he does the Dennis Hopper, because I was speaking about Dennis Hopper. He does the Edward Hopper. He actually built the cafe from the famous Nighthawks in Deep Red. So that what you see in Deep Red, that cafe at the beginning where Hemmings is playing the piano and he looks up and sees the murder from the window. I mean, he's recreating some of the most beautiful art, I think, ever. And I think that Italian cinema, including Fulci, including Bava, come from a grand tradition of that, I think. Oh, that Venom. I know it looks great. Not the greatest film ever, but the production design is fantastic. And the flat, you remember what I mean? The kind of beautiful white flat with the flowing curtains and stuff. It's a great set. It's one of the last things Scarfiotti did, I think, before he died. Perry Argento uses the camera like a canvas, a big bloody canvas filled with blood and some more blood, glorious horror. It's very beautiful, I think, Perry, and that's spot on. He paints with it. I think he uses it to paint, and that's why perhaps he had problems transitioning to more modern cinema. I think because, like we're talking about Bertolucci and the kind of Italian cinema. I mean, right up until the end, guys like Fulci, their work. Even when he was doing the super, super low budget end of stuff, like Cat on the Brain, when he was acting in things himself, he was still making these beautiful films. He was. And I'm glad Argento kind of came back to that with Dark Glasses.
Okay.
Evening, Mindy.
Hi, mentors. Sounds weird you were saying that. Okay. Next up, yourself.
All right. So, what we've had Dennis Hopper and Dario Argento.
Yes,
so let's go for. I'm just looking through some notes I made. I'll go Catherine Bigelow then, because we haven't done a woman director yet, have we?
Nope. Okay, ready when you are?
Yeah, cool. I'm ready to go. So Catherine Bigelow had a huge impact on me too. Huge. This was when I was a film student. So I'd seen Near Dark, which is Bigelow's second film. At this point, I hadn't seen her first movie, which is Willem Dafoe's first starring role. It's kind of like she directed it with Monty Montgomery. It was a co-directed film called The Young. Can't remember the name of it now, but it's a beautiful looking movie. Willem Dafoe's first starring role, kind of like The Wild One, but told in a modern setting in America, very stylized. Right from the beginning, I think with Near Dark, you can see that Bigelow is influence similar to what we've just said with Argento. She's got an art background. She comes from she studied at, I think it was in New York. She comes from a very kind of analytical background, studying violence in cinema. And what I love about Bigelow is that she directs violence in a way that's so stylized. It kind of turns it into this wonderful cinema. Like I'm a huge fan of Point Break. And it's a pretty violent film, but not in terms of people getting shot and stuff, but like the adrenaline stuff, the junkies. So the jumping out of the aeroplanes, the surfing. Yeah. She makes the ocean like a really violent place. But like Argento, she shoots really wide. And I love the way she uses the cinema screen. And I think some of the stuff in Point Break is breathtakingly gorgeous and some of the best action ever in her kind of a 1, 2, 3 hit. You've got Near Dark, Blue Steel with Jamie Lee Curtis, which is one of my favorite thrillers. And then you go on to Point Break. And then later she's got a work called The Weight of Water, which I think is breathtaking. I really do. But Bigelow's Near Dark, huge influence on me. It's still underrated. I couldn't believe it. It got a Blu-ray release off the back of Twilight, if you can believe it. It hadn't even had a Blu-ray release yet. And because it was a vampire love story, they kind of redid the artwork for Near Dark.
Oh, jeez.
Released it. I mean, the fantastic poster artwork with the guy with the bullet light holes coming through him, or Bill Paxton when he gets hit by the truck and his face is all mangled. Some of the coolest low-budget gore effects ever.
I thought you were going to say because of Twilight.
It's just fun. And I've got a re-release because of Twilight. So I had all these people, and I was like, oh, man, everybody, they're releasing Near Dark on Blu-ray. And they made Adrian, what's his name? I can't remember the actors' names. But they made them look like the Twilight actors on the front cover. Crazy. Geez. It is Realm of Horror. Blue Steel, I think, is criminally underrated. It's one of my favorite thrillers. Tom Sizemore in that opening scene when he's got her in the supermarket. So tense. And that directing's beautiful. It's like the whole of New York's filled with smoky-looking streets. And it's just incredible. You got Ron Silver as this kind of evil, as just real evil kind of yuppie, And at the time, that's kind of how I saw him, because I was coming off the back of loving Dennis Hopper and Easy Rider and stuff, movies like that. He's like a proper evil yuppie, and he just he represented on screen everything I thought was evil at the time. And it was so cool. Clancy Brown, but Jamie Lee Curtis kicks ass in that movie. And I think that as well, she got these strong female characters in there. So you got Laurie Petty in Point Break, you got Jamie Lee Curtis in Blue Steel, and she directs them so well, but she gives them like this vulnerability. But I think underrated is a great word for it, Realm of Horror, because I think it's Jamie Lee Curtis' most underrated movie by a huge margin, because she's amazing in that film and she kicks ass in Blue Steel. But those are three of them. Sorry?
Oh, spoiler alert. All yuppies are evil.
All yuppies are evil, yes. But I mean, that was kind of, I don't know if Bigelow was kind of trying to say that, but he was just this, he was kind of Patrick Bateman before Patrick Bateman. He really was. He was this yuppie who got the power or the gun, and then he goes out and kills. He was like, but he's got the, you know, he's got the yuppie beard, he's got the yuppie slick back kind of half long hair, you know, like that kind of yuppie hairstyle. And I love Ron Silver. He's a fantastic actor, and she can really cast our movies too. If you look later to something like The Weight of Water, you've got Sean Penn, Sarah Polley. You've got a great performance from my favorite performance, actually, from I can't remember her name now. From she was the Mike Myers, the first Austin Powers.
Oh, Heather Graham.
No, the robot. Well, spoiler alert, when it turns out to be a robot at the beginning of the second one.
Oh.
But that's her best performance, and Bigelow totally directs the shit out of it.
She was in the remake of Bedazzled. Elizabeth Hurley,
yes.
Yeah.
So Bigelow gets this performance out of Liz Hurley that's incredible. Not that Bedazzled wasn't incredible. that's a pretty good remake, I think. But that's kind of a 1-2-3 hit. And Bigelow, my style of cinematography, the way that I shoot, is very heavily influenced by her and Ed Lachman's work on Near Dark. I mean, I can't stress the impact it had. You got Tim Thomason in there. It's the first time I'd seen Bill Paxton. I mean, she was going out with James Cameron at the time, so you pretty much get the same cast from Aliens. You've got Lance Henriksen, Bill Paxton,
Michael Biehn,
Diaz. Is it who plays Diaz in Aliens?
Oh, Jesus.
She's in Terminator 2 as well.
Yeah. I know.
But you get, it's almost the same cast as Aliens. So she kind of took Cameron's, because they were dating. she took the cast, and they already had this camaraderie going. And it's just, in my opinion, it's a perfect horror movie. I'm a big fan of gothic horror. And I think Near Dark's a perfect blending of gothic horror and kind of neo-Western, because the silhouettes that she gets in it are the kind of cowboy hat. And there's an opening scene where May circles around Caleb, and she's a vampire, and she's got to take him away and kill him. And she just, she kind of circles. Ah, yes.
Simon.
Circles around the, sorry, I didn't, that's a huge name that I should have got, but I get nervous when we're doing these streams. But it's just a wonderful film, and in my opinion, one of the most underrated horror movies, and one of the most underrated vampire films of all time. But Near Dark, Blue Steel, Point Break, and then she directed The Weight of Water, which I think is massively underrated, and Detroit. She goes on to win the Oscar for Hurt Locker. She did K-19, The Widowmaker, in between, with Harrison Ford and Neeson, which is a great action film. Cinematography by Finch's cinematographer, same cinematographer from Fight Club, so it looks fantastic. But she kept that style up until Hurt Locker. And I was a little bit shocked when I went to see Hurt Locker at the cinema, because I was such a big fan of Near Dark and Blue Steel, that I went to see it, and she totally changed her style. She was a filmmaker who totally embraced digital, embraced the lightweightness of the cameras. And you've got this very powerful, very visceral style of cinematography that you kind of took over to Hurt Locker and then to Detroit. And I think that Detroit's a very underrated film. But it was great to see I get the Oscar finally for The Hurt Locker. I think she deserved the Oscar for Weight of Water, Point Break, or Blue Steel, or Near Dark. I really do.
I just want to say, like, do you think she deserved, she shot The Hurt Locker that way because to give it a more ambient feel, because it is a war zone? And
oh, totally. I mean, it's you're in the suit with Jeremy Renner. It feels like you're in those situations with him. I mean, she did the same with Zero Dark 30, which wasn't as successful a film about the war on terror, but kind of the same war even. But there was just something I think she lost in that one. But Detroit and Hurt Locker, I think, are fantastic films, and she deserved an Oscar. She's one of the filmmakers I think really deserved an Oscar because her career is quite magnificent, and she never really gets talked about much in film schools or stuff. But in my opinion, she's one of the best action directors of all time. And I really do believe that. I think Bigelow is one of the best action directors of all time, just for that triple: The Near Dark, Blue Steel, Point Break.
Very good. You got another 56 seconds if you want to continue, but if you're not, it's okay.
That's it. I mean, Realm of Horror, she said Jeanette Goldstein and Robert Patrick did a horror film together called Autopsy, 2008. I haven't seen it yet, but that's on my watch list. I haven't seen that either. I'll make a note of that because I'm a big Robert Patrick fan too. He did a great movie with Albert Pyun. He did a couple of really awesome action movies after he got famous for T2. He's actually been wasted, in my opinion. I did like him as Doggett. I know that's a bit sacrilegious because the X-Files did kind of take a nosedive before Mulder left. But when he came in as Doggett and Riaz in the X-Files, I thought he did an amazing job of he didn't try to follow in Duchovny's footsteps. He just played his own kind of grounded roots character. He's almost like a working class cop. And I really like.
Yeah, that's what he was initially before the character was. Before he joined the FBI, he was an NYPD cop. He's
got that kind of rough New York accent, and I love it. I mean, the episodes nowhere near as good as not many series are as good as 1, 2, and 3. But I think he did a great job, and he's a very underrated actor, Robert Patrick. I'll check that out. Cheers, Realm of Horror. Autopsy, 2008.
Cool. Well, my second peak. This will give it away anyway, first time if you're not sure already. It's an English director.
All right.
Yes.
Do you want us to take Hitchcock?
No.
English, right. So same time?
No. After
Hitchcock. English. Neil Marshall?
Nope.
Am I on the right track? Is it kind of horror?
Yeah, he's done horror, yes. He has done horror. But he's done a lot of different genres. And some...
Ridley Scott.
Yes.
Yes.
I was going to say, he's got a brother who was a director as well.
Tony Scott, he did a class horror, didn't he? The Hunger.
Yes. Right. So, Ridley.
Val Guest. That would have been a good one, Val Guest.
Yes. Ridley, well, where to begin? He is one of a kind as well. Maybe Tony was as well, but they both started advertising. Like famously, if you remember or have seen the Hovis bread ads.
Yeah, I remember the little kid running along there.
Yes, on the bike, yeah.
I die.
Going up the hill and
boom, 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 boom.
Yes. And well, he started. The both of them started off in advertising.
Freddie Francis, that's a good one too.
Yes. Yeah. Close again. Good cinematographer. But yeah. So Ridley's first film, as I'm sure you know, is The Duelists.
Here. A criminally underrated movie, The Duelists.
Yes, totally underrated. And for a first film, it's beautiful. It's not a, how can I say it? It's not compared to a lot of debut features. It's totally different. It's something about it. For one thing, it's like, you know, the 17th century or 18th century, you know. But at the same time, Scott's famous for his cinematography. Yet this film is, I think, it's the most beautiful.
In my opinion, I think it's one of his best movies. Yeah. And it's incredible that coming from adverts and directing Z cars, he decided, okay, I'm going to do this.
You do Z cars, okay.
That was one of his first big things out of college, out of university.
Oh,
so he was an art school student to that whole amazing art school group of people, you know, like Dave Bowie and that. But Dave Bowie, sorry.
Bowie, yeah.
But I mean, talk about a first feature. You know, I mean, people do, you know, okay, we'll do minimal sets, we'll do this. Totally self-funded. He lost so much money doing The Duelists because he self-funded the film.
Yeah, but he didn't do anything by half. He just everything was
incredible.
It was real.
It was incredible. I mean,
You know?
just those scenes with the sparks flying off the swords and the sound he gets, and
Yeah.
the Russian when they're in is it the Prussian War or the Russian War when they're in the
First of
snow?
all,
It's fucking man. Pardon my language. I swore there,
yeah.
but it's
It's okay.
absolutely incredible looking. And I mean, talk about I don't know. I mean, just the passion he must have had to how to get through that to make it.
Mm.
It's one. I think it's one of the greatest debut films
Yes.
in
100%.
a Hollywood director's canon of films. It's
Yes,
really incredible work.
I agree.
And I mean, Keith Carradine, Harvey Keitel are brilliant in it. I think it's Keith Carradine's one of his 2 best films.
Mm.
And Harvey Keitel, I love all of his films.
Well, Harvey Keitel is, he's on his own in terms of his roles, what he's done, and you can wax lyrical about him.
I mean, he's perfect choice for a guy who's going to hold a grudge for 30, 40 years. I mean, I can imagine Keitel might.
He's got the reputation,
and he's just got that in his face. I can imagine him holding a grudge for that long.
But then, we could talk all day about Alien and then Blade Runner.
Yes, definitely.
They were brilliant. As Simon says, they were great. And then, funny enough, I think I read somewhere or seen somewhere, he made Blade Runner when he was grieving his brother.
Yeah, he just wanted to dive into something, didn't he?
Yeah, to distract himself.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that was why, it was notorious that the crew didn't get on with him because he was British or something. And
I don't think he didn't care because he just wanted to throw himself into something.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the cool thing about Blade Runner. It's like, I mean, there's other directors who do the same, and I think I'd like to talk about one actually later if I can. But his world building in Alien and in Blade Runner is unique to the time.
Yes.
I mean, up until
but model work especially, and I think it's, as someone said, like a little film called Star Wars helped fund Alien. So you can make of that what you will. But Alien still holds up to this day.
They're just worlds he builds amazing. I watched Kingdom of Heaven recently. I bought the Blu-ray of it, and though it's not one of his best films, I think it's an incredible world-building film.
Yeah,
I think maybe Orlando Bloom was the wrong choice for the lead in that, but I love that film just because it's an incredible world, and I'm immersed in Kingdom of Heaven when I watch it. If I watch something like Troy, not so much, but I watch something directed by Scott, and I'm immersed in the world. I really am.
I think I would agree with you up to a point. Okay, there's one film that doesn't do it for me, and unfortunately, it's Gladiator 2.
I haven't seen Gladiator 2 yet, but spoiler away, it's not something I'm really that fussed about. But
well, we watched it there.
If everybody else doesn't mind, that is. I've stop seeing spoilers.
Well, it's basically a retread of the same story from the first one.
Right. I figured as much.
But Paul Mescal's in it, and he's up and coming Irish actor.
Yep.
So
he was in that great film Aftersun, wasn't he? Where he took his daughter abroad. So that was a really great film.
That was a powerful film, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think with Scott's strength is his storytelling, or his early work is storytelling.
He's just brilliant, man. I mean, there's a couple of little known films or lesser known films. I really love White Squall he did with Jeff Fahey, which is a kind of coming of age film with some guys out on the ocean, which is an incredible film. It's one of not Jeff Fahey, Jeff Bridges, sorry. And it's one of my favorite Jeff Bridges performances. It's a brilliant movie. And he did Matchstick Men, which is another one of my favorite Nicolas Cage performances. And they get mentioned, but not as much as they should. I mean, these are great films. Not just good, great films,
Yeah.
And these are great films in a career of fantastic works, And it's lately, he's just kind of been churning stuff out. I think ever since kind of Exodus, he kind of jumped on this thing where he was just, it feels like he's churning work out. But I think for him, the joy is in the doing. And I think you can tell, you can see it in his films. I mean, All the Money in the World wasn't the greatest film, but you can tell it was made by somebody who really knows cinema. Same with The Martian, you know?
Yes, yeah. I think what Simon says there, Prometheus and Covenant not so much.
Gladiator 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I think he should have maybe he should have produced Prometheus and Covenant and got someone else to direct them.
I mean, I'm on the fence. I'm a bit of a Prometheus fan.
Okay.
But I mean, that's obviously we can talk about that if you want. But I did like the world building in Prometheus. I mean, there was lots of mistakes in it, and I think things that he could have done a lot differently.
Well, it's meant to be a trilogy, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I also like it. I do agree. In the chat, Covenant not so much, because Covenant to me, I saw when I went to see it at the pictures, it almost felt like Alien done again. All those dark corridors, the kind of you didn't know whether to trust. I can't remember his name now. Not Lawrence of Arabia. David. You didn't know whether to trust Lawrence of Arabia. That's because he does his hair like Peter O'Toole, doesn't he?
That's right. Yeah, like a Fassbender. Yeah.
See, I liked all that in Prometheus. There's things about Prometheus I like. That there is. I mean, nobody runs like that after a C-section.
Really?
I mean, even in the future, if you're going to almost...
but you see, in the future, it's cutting-edge technology,
almost disembowel yourself there, pulling an alien out of your belly, and it was a big alien. It wasn't a little one either. It
wasn't a John Hurt alien, was it? No?
It wasn't. No, it was already pretty big. So there was definitely some moments where I was a bit... But I am a fan of Prometheus. I like the world building. I like the engineers. I like all that stuff with the UFO at the beginning and him putting his molecules into the water. I do like all that stuff. I do.
That's fair enough.
But we've only got 10 minutes.
Yes, well, we've got 50 seconds left. But I'll leave it with this.
All right.
Underrated, Thelma and Louise.
Oh, Thelma and Louise, man. I totally forgot. All right.
And Black Rain.
All right, Black Rain is amazing too. I mean, we're talking about, a couple of bad films, but if anybody who directed Black Rain's okay in my book,
yeah,
I mean, and that Andy Garcia getting decapitated on those motorbikes, and that bit at the end with the massive orange sun when Michael Douglas is sneaking up on them all with that shotgun, it's super cool. And what was the Tom Berenger one? Where he's looking after Mimi Rogers. It's someone to watch over.
Someone to watch over me.
Fucking that's my underrated one. I love that film, but I haven't got it. But I had the VHS back here for a while. That was one of my favorites on VHS back in the day. I'm a big Berenger fan. I've got Sniper up there behind us. He's after Rutger Hauer. He's kind of one of my favorite action guys, and I thought that film was perfectly cast. I really like someone to watch over me. That would be my underrated Scott, I think.
Cool. Covenant was essentially Prometheus 2, but with an aliens battle tacked on at the end.
That's what it felt like, didn't it? It just felt like a rehash of the stuff. It really did. Speaking of Robin Hood, though, Realm of Horror, what was his accent doing in that one? It was absolutely insane, Russell Crowe's accent. But it made it... I know he was trying to do he was trying to do something that was like, what did Robin Hood sound like? But there was some bad choices.
Not like that.
some good cinematography. I like the shots on the famous shot at the end on the beach with the arrow, and the camera kind of followed the arrow. That was all pretty cool, but it was...
Like that from Prince of Thieves.
There was definitely something lost in translation in that one, definitely. I kind of got what they were going for. Like a grass root. A grassroots Robin Hood. But I had to fluff that one up a little bit, I think.
Just a little bit.
But he did Black Rain, so I'll forgive him.
But I think Robin Hood was definitely his worst film.
I'd say it's up there in his worst ones. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple I like that are kind of... I love A Good Year with Russell Crowe. That's kind of a really nice film to watch if you ever just want to sit down and watch a kind of feel-good movie. I mean, don't watch Matchstick Man. It's not a feel-good movie at all.
No.
But that's kind of what I like about it. He kind of gets what's coming to him, the character. But A Good Year is a really nice kind of going back to an old Cary Grant style Hollywood movie. The guy kind of arsehole when the film's, pardon my language again, not a very nice guy when the film starts, and he kind of has a great arc in it and stuff. I really like that, A Good Year. That's an underrated Scott too. could you? If you just want a nice chill out Sunday afternoon movie type deal.
As opposed to Pirelli. Goodyear. Pirelli, no.
Whatever you do, don't stick Robin Hood on. I think that's the message from this one, isn't it?
Yes. It's consensus? Yes, I think so. Robin Hood, riding through the glen.
Although you'd have to sing it in like 10 different voices, and I'd keep Blanchett as well. That was a weird casting choice as Maid Marian. I didn't quite get it.
Well, they're both Australian, you could say.
Let's stop defending it. let's not make excuses for Robin Hood.
Okay, where's my DVD of it? So I'll throw it in the window.
And I can't really make excuses for Prometheus either, because but it's just one of those films I kind of.
Sure. Anyway, moving along.
All right, moving along. So, let's stick. I can actually make a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon here. What? So let's talk about. I'd love to talk about Walter Hill.
Walter Hill,
because Walter Hill famously didn't take credit for it, but apparently rewrote Dan O'Bannon's script and Ronald Hughes's script massively for Alien. And I think if you know Walter Hill, it feels like he did rewrite the script, because the characters are like Hill characters. They're really tough. Hill is. I always love his world building. And this is the director I wanted to mention when I was speaking about world building, because he builds worlds like no other director. Scott builds great worlds like Kingdom of Heaven. But what I love about Hill is he mishmashes genres together. And he comes up with a gang movie like The Warriors, but it's almost sci-fi. It's like in a almost near future, in an imaginary future. But yet, not for 1 second, watching The Warriors as a young film fan, it still blows my mind every time I watch it. It's like one of the most rock and roll sci-fi gang movies ever made. And there's a rock and roll edge to Hill. He did Streets of Fire, which is he calls it a rock and roll fable, which is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated action films ever made, because the action is amazing in it. You got motorbike chases, gasworks exploding. Got Diane Lane playing this kind of heroine who's incredibly beautiful. Got Willem Dafoe playing this cool bad guy who wears like leather, I don't know what they are, like leather chap braces that just shouldn't work, but they look fantastic. And when I was a kid watching that movie, I totally fell into that world, and I wanted to be in the world of Streets of Fire. I wanted to be in the world of the Warriors, even though they were dark and disturbing and violent, because they had these heroes and everything seems to get put right, and I love that about Hill's movies. I put him up there with John Ford, Howard Hawks, John Sturges, these kind of old Hollywood style guys, like who were directing, or even someone like Ida Lupino, who was doing films like Outrage, these tough films. And his films are tough, but they've got this magical element to them that just makes them incredible, I think. I mean, a film like Southern Comfort is a mix between a Western and a war movie. He mixes Johnny Handsome's, another one with Mickey Rourke, and a great performance from Lance Henriksen as a bad guy. Morgan Freeman pops up in that one, which is it's kind of a medical fantasy. It's about a guy whose face is mashed up, but he gets it fixed and he kind of goes undercover to there's sci-fi elements to his work. He mashes these worlds together.
Darkman a wee bit there.
Totally. It's like, but it's a kick-ass action, hard-ass action flick, but there's something magical to it. And I love Hill's world building because I don't think anybody else builds worlds like he does. I really don't think so. And he did Extreme Prejudice, which I did a video on the Boneyard a couple of months back. And it's a mishmash of CIA, of Western, of espionage, of war. And it shouldn't work, but it does. And it's one of the most underrated kick-ass action movies of the 1980s. It's got Nick Nolte's best performance. You've got Michael Ironside as a bad guy. Clancy Brown. You've got this great cast. Powers Booth is this kind of Colonel Kurtz who lives upriver. John Milius wrote the script for it. And I love that about Hill's work. He's got an old-style Hollywood approach, but there's something totally unique to his films. And I think that makes him, for lack of a better word, an auteur, because you can tell a Walter Hill movie when you watch it. And there's other filmmakers who do good action, like Mark L. Lester, for example, who did Class of 1999 and did Firestarter or did Commando. You know, these great works of action, great action films. I think Commando is a great action film.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't look at those three films and see there goes Mark L. Lester, the auteur. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You'd say Commando is a brilliant action movie, but you wouldn't necessarily say there goes a Mark L. Lester movie. You know, that's fantastic.
I think you see when you say Commando,
yeah,
you know, it's minimal.
Yeah.
You know, it's like very straightforward. Arnie's daughter's kidnapped.
Yeah.
He goes to rescue her.
It's great. Commando is a fantastic film. I think Lester directs the act. I think it's kind of, I hate to say it, but First Blood, you know, that's kind of Arnie's First Blood, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Rambo, Commando. It's kind of Arnie's First Blood, you know, because they were fighting each other at the box office at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both amazing films. First Blood's obviously got a lot more to say than Commando has.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It was based on Morel's book, and I think First Blood's a very, very dark movie. But man, as a kid, I partied with Commando, you know, until the VHS burnt out. I kind of count how many times I watched Commando. Matrix, Vernon Wells, as a bad guy. You got
David Patrick Kelly.
Bill Duke, David Patrick Kelly. I mean, Patrick Kelly, 6 Degrees of Bringing It Back to Hill. He plays a great bad guy in The Warriors. And you've got that kind of weird thing. The Warriors come out to play. You know, when he's got the bottles. Warriors come out to play.
Yeah.
Now, that wouldn't be in anybody else's film. That's a dark, satirical edge that only Walter Hill has. And I don't think if Patrick Kelly had said, I want to try this, you know, I know the director would have said, no, that sounds rubbish. But because it's a little bit off kilter, a little bit different, a little bit strange, a little bit weird, Hill says yes. And that's what makes his movie stand out and gives him that.
Yeah, give it a go. Yeah.
But he gives it that style. It's got that stylistic edge. I mean, the great score for the Warriors that starts off by the Joe Walsh music, you know, and Barry DeVos. The score is absolutely amazing for that. And the end song in the city, that's the Joe Walsh one, In the City.
Yeah.
There's just something dark about his world, but they kind of get put right in the end, which I kind of like. And I think that carries right through his work. I love Undisputed with Snipes and Rames. It doesn't get talked about as much, but it's an amazing film. It's an amazing work. And he did Broken Trail. He goes on to direct the Deadwood pilot, you know. And he does. I mean, Deadwood was kind of his baby. And you can see elements of his work in Deadwood, you know, the kind of lawless West. He did Last Man Standing with Bruce Willis and Christopher Walken, which was kind of his reimagining of Yojimbo, you know, the Kurosawa type stuff.
Yeah.
So he shows his influences on his sleeve. I've always liked that about his work. But he's like building on cinematic techniques that came before him. So he uses slow motion the way that Kurosawa used slow motion. A lot of people mistakenly thought he was ripping off Sam Peckinpah. But I didn't get to meet him, but I found a great interview with him talking about it. And he actually wrote The Getaway for Peckinpah. And The Getaway is, I think when you watch it, it's much more of a Walter Hill screenplay than it is a Peckinpah movie. And in a way, Peckinpah is one of my favorite directors ever. But I wish Walter Hill had directed Getaway.
Well, Peckinpah borrowed from Kurosawa, so it makes sense.
Exactly, the slow motion. It was that, you know, but what Hill said was that Peckinpah was kind of showing you the horror of the moment. He was extending the horror of the moment. Whereas Kurosawa and Hill, it's more classic. It's like it's extending the moment, you know, cinematically extending the moment, drawing your attention a certain way, directing. Yeah. Whereas Peckinpah wanted to slow the moment down to show you the horrific violence that was on screen. Show you the violence begets violence. It was showing you the nightmare of it. You know, the nightmare. And I think that's what Peckinpah did that was different to Hill.
Yeah, but I think, you see, we're just, you know, especially in Straw Dogs.
Yeah.
And The Magnificent Seven, especially those two films.
It is. And Commando is amazing fun in it. I still watch Commando quite often. I bought the director's cut, actually, about 4 or 5 years ago on Blu-ray. They released a director's cut, which had all the stuff that was never on TV. So when he broke the guy's neck on the aeroplane and, you know, do us a favor, don't wake up my friend. He's dead tired. Awesome one line of that. He's got some great one-liners in Commando. That's the director's cut. So when I was a
I
kid,
remember that being seen and shown in the cinema. Or
so I never saw it.
it.
Because the version I had was taped off television that I used to
Mm.
watch as Commando as a kid. So I never saw those until there was a VHS released. It must have been late 90s that was uncut. But I grew up watching a version that was cut of Commando. So I didn't know. I was really shocked when I saw that he comes out the shed and he throws this lawnmower blade and it cuts the guy's head off and he slices the dude's arm off with a machete. All that wasn't in the version I saw when I was a kid. So it was great for me. I partied with it and had fun with it again because I got to see all that gore that I hadn't seen. And it's a great movie. It's a great action movie. But like I say, the thing about Hill is you wouldn't say that's a Lester movie. You'd say that's an Arnie movie. Do you know what I mean? But when somebody's in a Hill movie, it's a Hill movie. And that's why I love him. But world building, to come back to the reason why I wanted to talk about Hill, kind of off the back of Ridley Scott, is that it's the world building. He builds these amazing worlds that I don't think you see in any other director's work, especially Streets of Fire. And I would say if anybody wants to see something totally original but kick-ass at the same time, watch Walter Hill's Streets of Fire. It's a rock and roll action movie, and it's just fantastic. It really is. One of my favorites of all time, in fact.
Cool. Very good.
I got really excited there. My throat got dry talking about him.
I have a beer in the fridge, I think, somewhere.
Crack it open. Crack it open.
I can find my bottle opener. Right. My next one, and then we'll take a wee break for a wee while. We'll have a 5-minute break.
All right.
It's Tim Burton.
Tim Burton. Good choice. I don't think I would have ever guessed Tim Burton.
No, probably not.
Right. But Street of Fire, yes, one of the best movies of all time. I think it's a great film.
Highly recommend it from the Boneyard. But yeah, Tim Burton. It's. I think for me growing up, the first film I saw of his was Batman.
Yes.
And that it left an impression. Because I was always reading Marvel comics when I was younger, and Batman came out in '89, and I was like too young to see it, but I wanted to see it. So my mom said, we'll go with your cousins and whatever. And we went and see it and saw it, so I should say. And I was like, wow, this is dark, And I had no concept of like goth as in Gotham and goth as in dark, like a person who is a goth. And I thought, okay, this is good. And I loved the scene where Jack Napier is getting the plastic surgery, and he just gets the mirror and goes, show me in the mirror, and this, and it's like he starts laughing maniacally.
It's very film noir.
It's scary.
I think it's very film noir.
Yeah, and I think that's what Burton was going for, that kind of aesthetic, And then I saw Beetlejuice shortly after that, and that's totally different. That was more fantasy. It's like, wow, this is the same director, really?
I think Beetlejuice is a masterpiece. I think.
Yes, I think so too.
I really do think it's one of those films that, how we remember Beethoven and Bach and stuff now, and not like the other composers of the day, even though there's hundreds of them. I'm pretty sure people are going to remember Beetlejuice.
Yes.
It'll be one of those films that people will watch. Like, I really do. I really do believe that.
I think it's again getting into the practical side of things. The models, both the model in the film itself and also the practical effects. I won't say CGI because there's no CGI in it, but
they're much better for it.
Yes, it's believable.
His style is much better before CGI. I'm a little bit like what we said with Argento with Burton. Some of his later films, the CGI kind of got in the way a bit, I think.
Yeah. I think that's his kind of because it's based on his drawings. You can't replicate that in a computer,
Yeah.
And then you move on then to like Edward Scissorhands, his first collaboration with Johnny Depp.
I love it as well. I really do. I love Edward Scissorhands so much. It's one of those films that I remember shedding tears, like
Yes.
watching it at the end when she's dancing and and he's cutting the ice sculptures.
Mm.
There's just his later work lost that for me. It's like they were like grim fairy tales, his earlier films.
Yes, yeah.
They really were. They were like grim fairy tales. I mean, that's why we'll get snow. Amazing,
Yeah.
But it was the models and stuff. It was just the models and Edward Scissorhands. And I mean, before then, I'm a huge Vincent Price fan, like huge, And just to see him in that role when he was getting older, and I mean, he died in I think one of his last films was playing the bad guy in Basil the Great Mouse Detective, wasn't it? Doing the voice.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Rattigan, I think it was Rattigan. But Edward Scissorhands was like his second to last film, I think. And it was amazing send off because Vincent Price had obviously influenced Tim Burton's work quite a lot, and the characters, and it was beautiful to see him in that. And I mean, heartbreaking, when he shows him the hands, and I'm getting goosebumps remembering it. But it's an incredible work, and it's not just an incredible story; it's an incredible visual work. Edward Scissorhands, as is Beetlejuice, but I think Edward Scissorhands more so. I think.
Yeah, and then we get the sequel, Batman Returns.
Yes.
And that's, to me, that's the best Batman.
Aye.
Again, I was still a bit young to go to see it in the cinema because I was 11 when I saw it, and it was a 15 here. I don't know about in England, but I saw it actually. I snuck in.
For Batman Returns.
Yeah,
it's a pretty dark film to be. Was it a 12 or a PG?
It was a 15 here.
Was it 15 here? I think it was a 12 when I saw it. But I kind of remember. You're probably right because it's a really dark film. It must have been a 15.
Yeah,
it must have been. I mean, the people getting their noses bit off and everything in that film.
I was going to say, I was enthralled by, Christopher Walken's character was Max Schreck. And I was obviously too young to know Max Schreck is a nod to.
I didn't. Do you know what it is? I didn't know that until you and Kieran told me that recently.
Yeah.
I didn't. I always knew him as Max.
Yeah.
But I couldn't remember that he was Max Schreck, and especially with everything being in the news lately about Nosferatu and Eggers thing, it was just like I couldn't believe it when you told us it was Max Schreck. I was like, man. Well, again, another artist like Hill, Tim Burton wears his influences on his sleeve, I think.
Yeah. And then fast forward a wee bit, then we go on to Mars Attacks.
Oh, Mars Attacks is, I think.
To me, that's the perfect movie from Tim Burton.
I think it's one of his
satire.
I think it's one of his last great films.
Yes, yeah.
And I do think Mars Attacks is great because I mean, just Tom Jones, and you've got what do you call him, the quarterback, the guy who has he works at the Pharaohs.
Jesus.
Just a team of those guys together. I was so glad, and like Tom Jones is just. I mean, that's a perfect cast. And Pierce Brosnan, it was perfect. Jack Nicholson, perfect.
Yeah, Jessica Parker.
I love Joe Don Baker in that. When he's like in Jack Black's father, and it's just I love the Jack Black scene when he picks the flag up and it's supposed to be so patriotic, and it's just like, and he's just gone. But he was totally playing with your emotions. It was so you thought he was going to be the, it was great. Mars Attacks, I think, is his last great film, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I would say Big Fish. Skipping past.
So Big Fish was what? Is that 2008 or something?
2002.
2002. So that was 2002.
Yeah.
That was a little bit too. There is some magical moments in it, but that for me was I remember seeing that at the cinema and thinking the CGI wrecked that a little bit.
Yeah, but I think he had to use CGI because he couldn't have done the story involved, with.
No, of course. I mean, he cast a giant, was a giant. It was the tallest guy in the world, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you've got a great cast, Albert Finney. He was
right,
he was really good at picking the casts, and there was some great moments in that movie too. But for me, it didn't work as a whole. But there's great moments in it, definitely.
And then he went downhill, sadly. With Sweeney Todd and
I didn't.
Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland was kind of the moment I checked out. I mean, I to this day I still watch Ed Wood. That's my favorite.
Yes,
I think Ed Wood is as much of a masterpiece as Edward Scissorhands is, or Beetlejuice. That's up there with his. I mean, Pee-wee's Big Adventure is pretty cool.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't put it up there with those. I mean, there's a bunch of films I mean, we're cinephiles. We love cinema. And in Scissorhands, in Beetlejuice, how many times have I said it? And in
Five
Edward,
times or 3 times you call him.
you can tell he's one. You can tell he's one of us.
Yes, yeah.
And then
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And then for me later on, Tim Burton isn't one of us anymore. It just something happened where he got wrapped up in the whole Hollywood machine, and it just the guy who made Edward loves Edward as much as I do. It seems. Do you know what I mean? And he loves Vincent Price as much as I do. He loves the Hammer horrors, and he loves the Poe films. I can see that in that work.
Yeah, I purposely left Edward out because I was going to come back to that and talk about how much of a, how transformation Martin Landau gave us to play Bela Lugosi.
It's incredible to me. I mean, Bela Lugosi is someone I've watched my whole life.
Yeah.
Since I was like 6-7-year-old, I've been watching Bela Lugosi, And Martin Landau, I've been watching him my whole life too. Stuff like Space 1999 was on the TV constantly, even though there was only like 2 series or whatever of that film. I felt like I was watching that constantly. I watched, North by Northwest. He's a big guy.
Yes.
And for him to act Bela Lugosi, and Bela Lugosi was a pretty short dude. It was like, it definitely deserved an Oscar. Definitely.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And that's again, going back to X-Files, you could say.
Oh, Landau. Yes. He's an incredible actor, Landau. I mean, Space 1999 is one of my favorite TV shows because it was always on when I was a kid. I grew up loving that show. But that's not Martin Landau. That's Bela Lugosi. But it's not. It's obviously the stylized version of it. But he just nails it. Johnny Depp nails it. Sarah Jessica Parker nails that narcissistic character she plays.
Yes.
Arquette is it's Patricia Arquette, right? Patricia Arquette is his wife, is just perfectly cast, the
Bill Murray.
Oh, Bill Murray. Bill Murray's so good.
Jeffrey Jones.
Jeffrey Jones. Yeah, man. Jeffrey Jones was playing the TV show host.
I know you talked or did a review of
The Bat, Mindy. Yes, I love The Bat. Classic.
Plan 9.
Well, Plan 9, I did a video about it recently. I didn't see it. I saw that as a teenager. I didn't see that like young, but I saw it as a teenager when I was first starting to like wonder if there was other people like me out there.
Yes.
And I actually found a bar in this was Newcastle. I'm from Sunderland. I'm a Markham, but there was a bar in Newcastle at the time that used to show movies like that, and I met a lot of my first people who I consider my real good like cinephile friends there. I mean, obviously I've got my friends from school who I still talk to and grew up with, but who will love stuff like Day of the Dead and shit, but he'd never sit and watch something like Plan 9 with us, my best friend. But I found that was a film that it was a huge part of my life, Plan 9.
Yes.
Because I discovered that there was other people like me out there in the world who wanted to go and have a couple of beers and watch Plan 9 from outer space, and talk about the passion of cinema. And in Edward, I think Burton nails that.
Yes, totally.
He really does.
And Wood was a trier and a goer, and he wanted to succeed. Unfortunately, he didn't as much as he wanted to.
Yeah, I know.
The legacy is there, I think, though.
Oh, I mean, Burton's going to be remembered. He's going to be remembered as one of the great directors, I think. Just because of that, the run he had up until Mars Attacks. Like you say, I'm not so much a fan of Big Fish as you, but I do like it, but not as big. I do like Albert Finney's performance in it. It's a very touching film. And later on, it kind of lost the emotion for us, and it all became more about the spectacle of it. I mean, Alice in Wonderland, I think, is the worst adaptation of Alice in Wonderland, Tim Burton's. I really didn't like Through the Looking Glass, although, is it Mia Wachowski? Her performance was great. Great.
Or something,
That saved the movie, I think, for me, her performance. I mean, Depp as the Hatter, I didn't get. It was... But I mean, that's like I say, I'll forgive him those cinema sins that I don't like, or things that I consider cinema sins, because he directed Edward, Beetlejuice, and Edward Scissorhands. And I mean, these are, in my opinion, incredible films. And there's a film of his. I love the work he did with Henry Seltzer, Nightmare Before Christmas, and I really love Coraline. Now, and even though he didn't direct it, you can tell Tim Burton's had the influence on the animation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I love David Keith as the cat. It's just beautiful. The voice.
I think you see with Henry Selick as well. You got
Selleck, sorry, not Seltzer.
James and the Giant Peach.
James and Giant Peach was a really good looking movie
You
too.
know,
Really good voice acting in that. It was
yeah,
the
that
Jennifer
was
Saunders and
fantastic.
Dawn, wasn't it? Dawn French. That was really
Yeah.
good. But you can tell his influences on those movies.
Hmm.
And I mean, James the Giant Peach and Coraline, they're still movies. I do watch Coraline often. I do. I went not like 3 or 4 times a year, but I'll stick that on quite often. I do
And
like
now
Coraline.
he's doing Wednesday for Netflix.
Wednesday for Netflix.
Yeah.
I didn't get Wednesday.
Hmm.
I thought it was okay, but I didn't get it as much as everybody else did. But there's obviously something there that people still love, Kerry, and
Yeah.
he's still a great filmmaker. He is, because he's still making great films for the masses. I mean, even though he's not making films for me anymore, it's
Hmm.
very obvious that he's here and he's here to stick around, and he's going to be here to stick around, for the rest of his career. He's always going to be able to get stuff made.
Right. We'll leave it for that for a few minutes then.
But Ed Wood, masterpiece.
Grab yourself a cup or whatever you need to get.
I'll go and grab some water.
Yeah, I'm going to grab that beer or go to the toilet first. And find the bottle opener. So, about 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Check
Okay,
yourself
lads and lassies and whoever.
Don't go away.
Peace out.
Okay, we're back.
Hey.
Well, I hope everyone is enjoying the stream. That's been great so far.
Cool.
So we've done Hopper, we've done Burton, we've done, who else have we done?
Burton, Argento,
Argento, Hill.
Hill, yeah.
It's been a pretty varied conversation, hasn't it, everybody, so far? Fantastic. It's a really good topic, I think.
Well,
Really
I was
one for stream.
trying to open up, to different kinds of, because it is, like, I could talk to you about, like, stuff like the MCU, and you might find that boring.
Well, I mean, it's not
Yeah.
my thing. I mean, I do love the MCU. I love the,
Mm.
but how people talk about the earlier days, how people talk about Howard the
Yeah.
Duck, how people talk about the
Mm.
Punisher, how people talk about Fantastic Four, how people talk about Captain America,
Yeah.
the Albert Pune Captain America,
Mm.
because they were all VHS staples. They were always in the video shop.
Yeah.
And I mean, I ended up owning. I loved Captain America in 1990. I'm a huge Dolph Lundgren fan, so I love the Punisher. And Howard the Duck, I didn't know at the time about the horribleness with Ed Gale.
Mm.
But Perry's just said the Wi-Fi went out. What did you miss?
Not really, nothing major, Perry. We just had a wee break for 5 minutes.
Yep, we just had a break, but now we're back.
Back with a vengeance.
All right, time for Cupper as well. Realm of Horror. I've got my tea as well. But Kerry's on the Stella, right?
No, beer Moretti.
Oh, beer Moretti. All right.
Yeah. I got a couple for the match last weekend.
All right, cool.
All Ireland football final. And after about 10 minutes of that, I didn't feel like drinking them. So,
but the last one we did, Perry, was Tim Burton. We've just discussed movies of Tim Burton.
Yeah.
So are we going straight into the next ones?
If you want, yeah.
So right, I'll have to think. All right, I'll do. Let's do 10 minutes on William Friedkin. I really like. There's a lot to say about William Friedkin in terms of how he influenced us.
Okay.
Like quite a lot, in fact.
Well, do you want to make it 15?
So, William Friedkin. So, we lost him. What, in 2021? I think, was it, or 2022? Friedkin passed away.
I think it was 22. Yeah.
And he's had a career of ups and downs, but I always thought, or he always was a director, that no matter what he did or what he made, I could always watch it and I always enjoyed it. Now, it began with French Connection, the one he won the Oscar for in 1971 with Hackman and Roy Scheider playing the two cops, Doyle and
Doyle and
Sonny Grasso.
Yeah.
So the two of those together based on real cops in New York. But it was the style of French Connection that really got us into Friedkin. But not just got us into Friedkin, really threw me into cinema and wanting to make cinema. Now we've talked about, stuff like the Bela Lugosi stuff. I loved, as a kid, and I was a big Hammer horror fan. I was a big George Romero fan, and but I loved stuff like RoboCop and Terminator, and and there were things that were obviously big movies at the time, but they never made us think I want to make films. They never did. I mean, now I look at them and. I mean, stuff like Terminator and RoboCop, they're marvels of cinema. I mean, the amount of work that went into those movies and the amount of artistry and the amount of performance, it's just incredible. I mean, it really is. Both incredible films. But French Connection was the first movie I ever saw, and kind of put it there with Night of the Living Dead, because there's a kind of realism to them both. And it was that realism, the documentary realism to French Connection, that I thought there's something different here. That camera is not moving on a tripod. I mean, not moving on a tripod, not standing on a tripod. It's not moving on a gimbal. It's not. You could tell it was handheld. It was action. The camera was moving with the people, literally running down the street with Eddie Egan and Sonny Grasso and sorry, I should say Gene Hackman and Roy Scheider, the characters. Was going down there with them, and it just blew me away, man. And it was then I saw The Exorcist next, and there is a documentary realism to the way that Exorcist looks, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that.
And then I think he brings that into Sorcerer as well later in the 70s, which I think was 77. And he was still kind of, The Exorcist was heralded as one of the greatest horror films of all time, rightly, I think. I was still am a big Mark Kermode fan, and he's written books and made documentaries about that movie. And so I almost followed Kermode on his journey with it. I really like The Exorcist too. It's not one of my favorite horror movies, but I love it because it's the direction from Friedkin. I love the direction from Friedkin. It didn't scare me. What it did do was unsettle me, The Exorcist. But the French Connection unsettles me too, and so does Sorcerer.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about them that's a little bit off kilter, and that's what makes Friedkin stand out. There really is. It's similar to what I was saying about Walter Hill earlier on, with making those weird choices, making the choices that you wouldn't usually make. I mean, the end of French Connection, when you just hear that gunshot ring out, I mean, we've got no idea what's happened. Did he shoot Chanier? We don't know what happens. But it's almost, it's a moment of tension that doesn't give us a release.
Yeah.
And man, I'd never seen anything like that before. I really hadn't. And it was,
he's a very hands-on director in terms of like, he fired a shotgun to get a response from Jason Miller in Exorcist.
And apparently there's a great story with Max von Sydow as well, when he got a hold of him and said, if you want me to do something, ask us to do it. I'm an actor. I'll act it. But apparently the famous one was Miller when he's listening to the tape, right? And he figures out that it's English backwards.
Yes.
And or American backwards. And he kind of jumps really quick when the telephone rings.
Yes,
I think that was the shotgun or something, wasn't it? He blasted a shotgun right next to his head.
No. It wasn't Jason Miller. It was at the very end, I think.
Was it at the very end?
When the priest is given the last rites to.
He slapped him apparently, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. He did that.
Yeah. But he said, "First, do you trust us?"
Yes. Yeah.
Because he wasn't an actor, Father Malone. He was. I think it was Father Malone. He was
a real priest.
He's a real priest. Yeah. So, and that's the thing about the realism in that film. And I think that followed into
sorry. I think that's kind of also to do with Blatty, because he went to Jesuit school and
he did, and
he would have heard all the stories. And
that was that's where he heard it, right? When he was in school, he read it in the newspaper and looked at the. I mean, there was a truth to it, and Blatty really believed it.
Yeah,
and apparently that's why he fought for Friedkin, because he knew Friedkin had a documentary background and he wanted it to have that documentary realism. And of course, French Connection's got it. French Connection's got that documentary realism, and he carried it, I think, through most of his career. I think Friedkin, right up until his last film, which was the Kiefer Sutherland kind of retelling of the Caine Mutiny, which was a really, really solid film. But yeah, Collector Adam, there'll never be another director like Friedkin. Agreed, John. Got into his film through the French Connection, exceptional film. Me too, except French Connection was the beginning for me with Friedkin. And I never left. I mean, so Sorcerer derailed his career because he thought he could kind of do no wrong. And then along comes Star Wars. And he's still making these crazy, beautiful, strange, kind of out there Hollywood movies with huge Hollywood budgets. As French Connection and Exorcist had, these were Hollywood films. So he grew up in Hollywood. He worked on Hitchcock's Half Hour. He was started in the mailroom, literally worked his way up all the way, floor manager, live television director, documentary, did it the hard way. And you can see it because the techniques in his films, I think, are always right for the film that he's making. And he's a director similar to, I'd put him up there. I mentioned John Sturges earlier on. I feel the same way about Sturges, who did stuff like Great Escape. He did stuff like Twilight's Last Gleaming. He had that he just made the right decision. And I mean, the very last interview Friedkin ever did was quite beautiful because he said, sometimes I knew exactly what I was doing, and the films worked. Other times I didn't, and they didn't work. But I think French Connection, Exorcist, time has proven now with Sorcerer that it's a classic film, and I think one that will be remembered forever. Sorcerer, I think that's a film that will go down in the annals of film history. Is a great film.
As Simon says, it was phenomenal. The bridge scene.
It is
phenomenal. It is. It's so tense.
I mean, that beautiful Tangerine Dream score as
Yeah.
well, that betrayal, a dinga, 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 dinga. It's a driving force through the whole movie. And it's just perfect score. He was taking a chance. Tangerine Dream were a airy-fairy 60s band, you know. I mean, they were Salvador Dali's house band. I mean, that's how kind of way out they were. They were doing gigs for Salvador Dali. And I mean, they didn't start scoring films really until the late 70s after they were doing these kind of soundscape albums like Ricochet and stuff. And it was movies like Sorcerer and later Tangerine Dream, Firestarter, actually, I mentioned earlier on, Mark Lester. They did the soundtrack for that, which is beautiful. Risky Business. And they went on to be one of my favorite soundtrack artists. Not just one of my favorite soundtrack artists. I love Tangerine Dream's album work as well. I've got most of their collection. Ega Foresi's a visionary. And it was quite visionary of him to put that with that film. And I mean, I think now everybody realizes how many chances he was taking, how original it was, and how original it is, and there'll never be another Sorcerer. The same way there'll never be another Exorcist, but in a good way, you know?
But you see, the thing is, people would say, oh, Sorcerer, it's a remake of Wages of Fear, but...
It is, which is a great film in its own right. Clouseau's a fantastic director.
So if you remake Sorcerer, you have to pay homage to that, I think.
I think it's its own beast. I mean, there's so many. I mean, we touched on this in Stephen King, and when we discussed Stephen King's work, you know, how many times has Shakespeare been done? And
that's right.
They've been done as fantastic as they were the very first time. I mean, I remember seeing Anthony Hopkins do Titus, you know, and it's absolutely amazing. And that was about the 200th, if not more, time Titus had ever been done. You know. So I'll look at kind of classic works in that way. Sometimes there'll be good ones, sometimes there'll be bad ones, and Sorcerer is one of the best remakes ever, I think. And I think Clouseau's film is great in its own right, and that's a very incredible film as well. But Sorcerer is incredible in the way that it's a freaking stamps on it. You really know that Sorcerer is a freaking film because that kind of authority. His authoritative voice is on it. And then he kind of dipped out for a while. He did The Guardian, which is a famous kind of flop, which is he tried to do a kind of witch's tale and about parenthood. And he'd had an experience with a nanny. Is that the 10 minutes up, Friedkin?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So let's just say he had a few flops, but I think he really came back with Killer Joe. When he did the Tracy Letts work, he came back with Killer Joe, my favorite Matthew McConaughey performance. I think he gave Matthew McConaughey a whole second life when he did that film with him. Another brave choice. And then he did Bug at the same time with Ashley Judd, another great performance. And I think he was one of the masters of cinema, in my opinion, Friedkin. And French Connection was one of the movies that kicked it all into gear for me. It really did.
For me, it was Exorcist, and then because I don't know about England, but I was banned here for a long time.
Yeah, it was banned. The first time I saw The Exorcist, it was still banned. I had to get a copied VHS.
And then you watch it, and it's like, yeah, you can see why it was banned. But then when I got the DVD of it, and you see the the extra features, about the history of the film and the history of Blatty writing the story, and his it hit too close to home for some people here.
It was just the cultural impact of it. You know, I mean, it was, you don't get many films like that. I mean, when was the last we had Barbie and Oppenheimer? That was kind of the last big cultural impact, do you think? And I mean,
Oppenheimer, Barbie,
had that kind of impact on society. Everybody was talking about it.
What's anything before that? Let's see, hang on. I don't think there was, no.
I mean, you could see something like Endgame, where everybody was talking about it, everybody's hanging on, everybody's wondering what's going to happen, but not to the same level, if you know what I mean.
No, definitely not. No. Yeah. I think that's what you see. as you said, it brought a realness.
It's
Friedkin brought realness to it. Like
it's just him. It really is. You don't get many people like him. I mean, you did back in the day. You know, people who literally worked their way up through the filmmaking system.
yeah,
It was the same way that I'm a big Bond fan, and you get people like John Glenn, who came on to direct movies, Timothy Dalton movies, For Your Eyes Only, and then he did License to Kill. But he'd worked his way up, you know, right from being editor on films and assistant director, and you know, he did that. He did the same thing. He came up through the system, Friedkin, and because he came up through the system, he could talk with an authoritative voice on cinema because he understood it.
yes,
You get filmmakers now who might have something personal to say, but it's not like, you know, it's I mean, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I recently watched Saint Maud, which is a really good horror film, but it's a kind of about self-belief and all this kind of, you know, stuff that's looking internal into the character.
yeah,
But yet I was arguing that someone like Kubrick had already done that. He'd done elevated horror with The Shining. You know, The Shining's an elevated horror movie. If you want to look at it like a guy losing his mind in a family situation, you project on it. But Kubrick could speak in horror with an authoritative voice.
yes,
And The Shining's a 1 in a million movie because it was Kubrick speaking in his authoritative voice on cinema, making this classic horror movie. And I think Friedkin did the same with The Exorcist because it's a beautiful work of cinema. Because he understands cinema, he understands the camera, he understands editing. You know, he's not just throwing stuff to the wall and seeing what's sticking. He's not using Steadicams because he hasn't got the budget. He's using all the chips, all the tools, you know, from the beginnings of cinema. And I think that's why The Exorcist still stands up, because it still looks absolutely fantastic. There's no rubbish CGI. You know, it's all done for real. It's all great stunt operators.
and like you see Max at the very beginning, Max and Cito, and the statue of Pazuzu. It's like a face-off. It's like a western, you know, like Gunpowder, OK Corral kind of scene.
And that's that tension. That's that Friedkin tension.
Yeah.
That opening doesn't scare you, but it unsettles you.
Yes.
And you've got that great. He got the guy who did El Topo to do the soundscape on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who did the Spanish, I think, Spanish sound dubber. So he did all the kind of Foley, all the carts, all the bells. That it's just amazing. He got Jack Nietzsche to do that totally unconventional score. It's incredible. It's just an incredible film from a director that understands cinema completely, I think. Same with French Connection and Sorcerer. And like I say, like Bug and Killer Joe as well as later works. And especially The Hunted for me. I think The Hunted's a masterpiece as well.
Minty mentioned there To Live and Die in LA.
Yeah, man, another great score as well. Wang Chung, best thing they ever did, I think. But William Peterson, that performance and that Willem Dafoe, and just it's such an impactful film. I mean, John Pankow, I'm a big fan of him because he's in one of Romero's films, Monkey Shines. And John Pankow plays John, is it Bukovich? Chance's partner. And man, it's just brilliant. The whole film's brilliant, To Live and Die in LA. It's like you jump on a roller coaster and it just never stops. And I mean, again, he kind of got known for his car chases, and that car chase is fantastic. And it starts off with the French Connection, then you kind of go to that car chase and Live and Die in LA. It's another great thing where John Bukovich in the back and he's screaming and they're going down the highway and he's going up the shoulder of the irrigation ditches in LA. I mean, that's a filmmaker who understands where to put the camera. It's incredible. And I've got the score in my head now. To Live and Die in LA. Boom. 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 The way the film's...
I can watch that later.
It's just brilliant. It's epic. Totally epic. One of the most underrated action films of the 80s as well, I think. Or thrillers, I should say, I guess.
Yeah, more thriller than action, yeah.
Wang Chung, yes, Wang Chung.
Excuse me.
Amazing.
Beer.
But yeah, it's a masterpiece. He had a career where every now and again he just popped up and made these breathtakingly original. And like I say, why I like him is because he came up through the system and he understood cinema completely. I think cinema was just in his blood.
Right. My fourth pick.
Right.
Back to clues.
All right, cool.
Right. Surrealist.
Surrealist.
Yes.
Surrealist.
Yes. Cue number one.
That's intriguing.
Could be anybody, really, couldn't it?
Well, we've talked about Fellini.
We have. But it's not him.
Surrealist. I do love surrealist cinema. Antonioni?
No. Although he did start off with in theatre.
In theatre. Bertolucci?
No.
No.
Not even close. Wrong answer.
Well, I tried.
Yes. Well, put out to the chat. Anybody ideas? Surrealist, start out in theatre. Contemporary would have been Samuel Beckett, one of my favorite playwrights.
Working with Samuel Beckett. David Mamet?
No, it's not the Lynch.
No.
Although that's for another
stream. That's great how he is. He's the Lynch. He's to the Lynch.
Yes. That's for another stream. You kind of mentioned one of his films earlier.
I don't know. I'm going to have to just throw it over
Alejandro Jodorowsky.
Oh, Jodorowsky, right. So it was Jodorowsky's sound operator that worked on The Exorcist.
Yes.
Or it was the guy that did all these Foley.
Yes. So where to begin? As I said, he was a contemporary.
Where to begin?
Beckett. Now, I don't know if you... Well, I've got a theatre background myself, so I would have a bit more understanding of Beckett's work.
Yes.
But the theatre of the absurd, Jodorowsky's version was the Panic Movement.
Yes.
In Mexico and France. And he would have worked with Ionesco. Eugene Ionesco, have you ever heard of him?
Could you remind us? Could you give
the
us...
leader, the bald soprano.
Ah, right, yep.
So very surreal.
Yep. Short,
but, like impactful theatre. So Jodorowsky made, El Cravat, his first short, and he didn't direct it, I think. He actually acted in it.
Well, he's a really good actor. That's one of the things I love about him. He embodies his movies.
He does, literally, yes.
I mean, his voice is on the soundtracks. He's incredible. He is. He's a real, I guess you'd say, surrealist artist filmmaker. I know that's a pretty broad term.
Yeah. But I think, you see, for me, we're talking about 1, 2, 3 hits.
Yeah.
El Topo, Holy Mountain, Jesus.
Sangre.
Yeah. Well, I was going to pass on Tusk, which very rarely can you get that anywhere, I think, on the ship. It's bootlegged. But Santa Sangre, yeah, and then he made Dance of Reality and the Rainbow Thief and all that.
Shed loads of documentary work.
Yes.
Those great poetry films. He almost made June. There's that famous, documentary, Jodorowsky's June, about him trying to make it.
Yeah.
He's a very interesting character in cinema. And I mean...
Go ahead, yeah. Sorry.
So not someone I call one of my favorites. I have to say that.
Okay, that's fine.
So I mean, I do love him, and I understand his place in cinema. But there was just something that turned me off him. I saw The Holy Mountain back when I was really getting into cinema. So this is going back to about 13, 14, like I was saying before, when I started to get really serious about it, and I was looking for things that were different. Things that weren't just the action movie stuff that I was getting, Steven Seagal or Chuck Norris movies. I was looking for different cinema. So I found him that way, like reading magazines, reading books, looking for people who were considered different. And I found The Holy Mountain, got it on VHS, watched the VHS, and I was enjoying it until he kind of turned around at the end of the film. And this is me getting it wrong. I misunderstood the film. But the first time I saw it, he turns around and says, "What you doing here watching this film? Go out and create." And I was thinking, so I've just wasted 3 hours of my life watching your movie, have I? And so I took it totally the wrong way. And I didn't watch him for years after that. And it took us until I was maybe 19 or something. In fact, it might have been 17 or 18 to get back into his stuff again. And then once I did see El Topo, and Santa Sangre especially, which
Oh,
is
Santa is beautiful.
my favorite one of his
Dark
films.
though, but
It is. He is an incredible filmmaker, and he's definitely got his place in cinema. He's very original, very influential. But I didn't understand him at first. I really didn't. I didn't understand him. And I think Santa Sangre would have been the place I would have started. If anybody wants to watch his stuff, I would recommend starting with that one because it's kind of his most straightforward, and it's quite a horrific but a beautifully horrific film.
Yeah. And if you want to go autobiographical, there's Endless Poetry and Dance of Reality, and his third film on that series is coming out next year, I think.
So he's still making parts of the series.
Yeah, he's filmed it. I think he's just edited it now. So
is he? What does he do now? Because I haven't watched any of his stuff. Must be.
He just directs it and edits.
Three or 4 years. So is he still making documentaries and still releasing cinema?
He's doing films rather than documentaries.
Right.
But he's written books and comics and does the tarot readings and calls himself the psycho magician.
So that's a really cool name. So where would you suggest someone start with his modern stuff?
To get a flavor of the man himself, definitely Endless Poetry and Dance of Reality. It's more of his upbringing in Chile and in the circus, and
his son's involved in them, right?
Yeah, his sons are in a lot of his films. Yeah,
I remember his son being in a lot of his works as well, and I think one of the documentaries I saw was his son was acting out kind of the him when he was a kid, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, when he was younger, there was one of his sons was in Santa Sangre, and he played the surrogate of Alejandro.
I mean, some of his films, I remember El Topo being a very shocking film. I mean, there's disembowelments, people get castrated.
Family Elise as well. Forgot about that.
It was very violent. And I mean, a lot of nudity. We're not talking about kind of mainstream stuff here, are we? It's I mean, it's hard to put him into a genre even because he's worked in westerns, but you would say it was an acid western, right?
Yes, yeah, definitely acid western. Yeah,
acid western. I mean, I would call Holy Mountain an experimental film.
Yeah, you could. Interesting, because that was produced by John Lennon and Alan Klein, I think. And
John Lennon produced Holy Mountain.
Yeah, I think so.
That's really interesting.
Put money towards it anyway.
That's really interesting. That's cool.
He saw El Topo and he was fascinated by it. So.
Well, it is. I mean, El Topo was a great film. I kind of saw El Topo off the back of watching The Great Silence and looking for different kinds of westerns.
Yeah,
I really got into. I saw Dead Man, Jim Jarmusch's film in the early '90s, and I started to look for alternative westerns, and that's kind of the reason why I got back into Alejandro Jodorowsky, was because I was looking for the stuff and I found Topo again and watched it and went, okay, this is better than Holy Mountain. I thought it was better than Holy Mountain. I did go back. I've seen Holy Mountain, I don't know, maybe it's 10 or 11 times now. I've watched those three in particular. I did watch his other documentary stuff, but and his other poetry films, because a while back I bought the Arrow box set. And I kind of watched everything that was in there and read the books, which I've sold, unfortunately, now. But I did have the Arrow. So I did watch Holy Mountain, like I say, probably a dozen times. And I watched, and I did get into his stuff eventually, but it took me a long time.
Yeah, it's not for the entry-level film lover, that's for sure.
Like I say, I'd say start with Santa Sangre because it's. I'd say that's his most accessible one, and it's his most like. I put it in the same vein as something like Eraserhead, or it's got that kind of psychedelic feel to it. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, certain scenes you wonder what's going on, but you have to bear in mind that it is autobiographical to an extent.
He was in the circus, right?
Yeah, his family were. Yeah,
his family were in the circus. Yeah, I remember that, and that's quite a horrific film too. It's very violent. I would call Santa Sangre a horror film. I would call it a out and out horror film. It's a psychological horror, but it is an out and out horror film.
There's a line in it. One of the characters says, "They say he killed a man and raped a woman in America or something like that." And it's basically they're talking about Jodorowsky's character.
That's pretty dark.
Yeah, so
that's very dark.
So I don't know, but it's not for the faint of heart. But on a slightly related note, before we moved down here, Lexi went on ahead the week before I did because I had to get pay some bills and stuff like that. But I went into our local and say goodbye to people and all that. And one of the guys at the bar sitting near the window, near the front door, I said, can I take your picture? And he says, yeah. Took his picture, spitting image of Jodorowsky. And I was like, I showed him a picture of Jodorowsky and himself. And he says, we're twins. I'll send you the picture later on and show you that idea.
You never know, it could have been him.
Yeah. Could have been, yeah.
He's the kind. I would imagine he would be the type of strange character that would be like, I am not. Jodorowsky is everywhere.
Yeah.
Because he is quite flamboyant. He has got a huge ego, hasn't he?
Yeah. Adam says, gonna have to call it a night. Early start tomorrow. Thanks for another great stream. Hope the rest of the week goes well. Catch you all in the next one. Yep. Thanks, Adam, for joining us, and hope you have a good day tomorrow and whatever you get up to. And we'll see you next time.
Cheers, Adam. Good night.
But yeah, that's me about the Jodorowsky.
So that was a wild card, I think, in the mix.
Yeah. Well, I have 2 wild cards, but I might mention just one of them.
Well, sure. Let's go for someone who's. Let's do John Carpenter. Do you want to talk about John Carpenter?
Okay, right. Yeah.
It's because he's more mainstream, I think.
Oh, right. You're getting the mainstream.
Getting a bit mainstream.
Okay.
Oh, right, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't imagine Carpenter likes Jodorowsky's films very much.
No, I don't think so. I think he'd be appalled by them.
But Carpenter, especially music-wise and production-wise, is a massive influence on me. And when I talk about influential filmmakers, I have to talk about Carpenter because I really studied him. Benny Zessa, Jodorowsky wrote the Incel graphic novel 2, Incal graphic novel 2. I have that. Cool. So I'll have to check out some of his comics and some of his written work.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah.
So Carpenter, back to Carpenter. It actually starts with Precinct 13 for me. Yep. Precinct 13 was the first one of his I saw. And then I saw Halloween. And I mean, in my opinion, even though his career took a dive towards the end, which a lot of people consider after In the Mouth of Madness, a lot of people consider Vampires, Ghosts of Mars, The Ward, Memoirs of an Invisible Man, even in the early 90s. A lot of people don't consider these as great as his other works because he had a kind of run that ended with The Thing that is one of the greatest runs, in my opinion, in cinema history. I mean, you start off with Dark Star, which actually gets released on his birthday. So this is literally a bunch of students making a student film to get it released. And I absolutely love Dark Star. I think the satire of it is absolutely incredible. I think for a bunch of guys in college getting together, they all went to University of Southern California, Dan O'Bannon, and Carpenter getting together and making this film. The fact that it ever got made is incredible. He ends up going to Jack Harris, which is a really famous producer who worked with Kubrick, gives him some money to finish the film. It gets released and then nothing. But then he self-funds Precinct 13. And I think Assault on Precinct 13, in my opinion, is the best exploitation film ever made. I think it looks incredible to this day. Yeah. There's nothing. So there's some 70s fashion in it, some mustaches and sideboards. But apart from that, it's almost timeless. He made it like based it on Howard Hawks, like Rio Bravo, the cinema that he loved. He played with his names in the credits. He said it was edited by John T. Chance, who was John Wayne's character in Rio Bravo. But I think Precinct 13 is, like I say, in my opinion, I'm a big exploitation fan. But when you watch it now, it doesn't even look like an exploitation film. It looks like an incredible work of 50s or 60s, even late 40s cinema. You can see he's taken everything he's learned from the cinema he loves, from Hawks, from that wide look, from something like Red River, and he applies it to the screen in this small set. And I just think it's an incredible work for a self-funded, not debut, but self-funded second feature film.
Yeah.
and he makes this minimalist score, which is still inspiring synthwave artists to this day. Which it is totally Led Zeppelin if you speed it up. Dun, 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 come from the land of the ice and snow. And he said this himself. He said, I was a big Zeppelin fan, and if you slow it down, he did the music in a day or two, shot the film in 24, 25 days, edited the thing himself. I mean, there's a reason why I think this is in the literature, and I think people have understood this when they've studied Carpenter's work. He burned out by the late 90s because he was almost a one-man band.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to realize Prince of Darkness, They Live, these films were independent films. These were funded by Shep Gordon, who was Alice Cooper's, those two films. But they're pretty independent. They Live is starring Roddy Piper in the lead role. He casts these great character actors. He understands cinema in the same way Friedkin does. Carpenter understands the nuts and bolts of cinema, and he tells us a great story. And every now and again, with a movie like They Live, he tells us a great story that's got some power behind it. And he's got that old kind of, I mean, we sometimes forget that people like Spielberg or like Carpenter or Toby Hooper, Wes Craven, these guys were hippies. I mean, they grew up, they were born in the 40s, lived through the 50s, grew up, they were 20-year-olds in the late 60s. So they've got this mentality of a world that could have been and that was just stamped on by the kind of government, Then they had to live through Tricky Dicky. The first, I mean, presidents all screw us over, I guess, but the first one that was really public about it ended up having to be or leave the office because he was literally committing crimes. And I love that that's in Romero's work, but I love that it's in Carpenter's work. And there's just something about They Live and Escape from New York that is totally against any authority.
Yeah.
It's like, and it was telling me as a young guy, this is why they're influential, telling me to question authority. Saying why, that great thing that opens Escape from New York, we're taking a fatal blow against the fascist police state. And there's a real kind of, there's a rebel behind these movies.
Yes.
And I love that Carpenter's a kind of rebel. It was Carpenter's most prolific period was from Precinct 13 to Christine. Definitely realm of horror. In my opinion, Christine is I know I've said the word masterpiece a few times tonight because I get excited when talking about films, but I actually have the original poster in my living room of Christine. That movie is had a huge impact on my life. I love the score. I love Keith Gordon. I love Stockwell. It's the film is just, Carpenter's gone back to look at it. It was kind of classed as his first job for hire, Christine, because he had a big flop with The Thing. And he was just thinking, what am I going to do? Am I even going to work again? And then someone comes along, Richard Corbridge, who had worked with him on The Fog. There's actually a character in The Fog called Corbridge, Mrs. Corbridge, named after the producer, which is something I love about his work too. He says he gets bored coming up with names. So you get people called Romero and Cronenberg in Escape from New York. He was just whacking names in the scripts. I just love how cool he is. He's almost like a rock star of horror directors, Carpenter. He is a rock star. I've actually seen him live twice. He is a rock star. But you're right. Everything is kind of hit or miss after that. And I think, in my opinion, it's because he was burned out, because he was a one-man band. And he said in an interview, I think it was the one he did with Kermode, when they were doing the kind of 30 years of horror, after Halloween, it was like the 30th anniversary of Halloween, sorry. And I remember him saying, it's really hard, this job. I'm scoring them, I'm editing them, I'm directing them, I'm writing them, and he was like, and he went to Hollywood finally thinking, great, I'm going to get the cushy studio job I always wanted. I'm going to be like Howard Hawks. I'm not going to be writing anymore. I'm going to have a team. And he had to go back to independence after the Thing and Christine. But I think he's gone back now and looked at Christine again and said that he thinks it's a good work of his too. But he did class it as a work for hire. But I think it's a quintessential Carpenter film. It's so he'd lost Dean Cundey by then. So Dean Cundey, who shot Halloween, The Fog, Escape from New York, and The Thing, went on to become one of the biggest cinematographers in Hollywood. I mean, he shot stuff like Free Willy 2 and he went out to do Back to the Future 3 and, he ended up being one of the greatest cinematographers in Hollywood, Cundy. He's a great cinematographer. So he lost Cundy on Christine. And one of the things I love about it is he went back to the cinematographer whose name escapes me now, that he'd worked with on the mini-series he made with Kurt Russell about Elvis. So one of his first really big deals, he got a 3-hour miniseries about Elvis. That's how he met Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell was cast as Elvis, which is a pretty solid TV movie, as is his other TV work. I love Someone's Watching Me with Adrienne Barbeau and Lauren Hutton. That's a great kind of studio TV movie that he made that looks fantastic. His work always looks fantastic. I think even towards the end, Realm of Horror, I think even Vampires, Ghosts of Mars, and Village of the Damned, I think they still look great and they look like Carpenter films. But there is something amiss, definitely, in there.
I'm surprised you haven't mentioned one of my favorites of his. Mouth of Madness? Well, there's loads of favorites, but one of my favorites you haven't mentioned. Starman.
Starman's great film as well. It was, he said he'd done the bad Alien, right? Now he wanted to do the good Alien.
Yes.
Because the Thing was up against stuff like Conan the Barbarian, and it was up against E.T. And, you had these kind of films that were considered more iconic at the time. But, history's shown us, same with Sorcerer, The Thing is now considered one of the films that inspired some of the best special effects artists now. You get people like Everett Burrell and K&B Effects and Greg Nicotero and all those guys talk about how much of a big influence The Thing was, just because of those awesome special effects by Rob Bottin, who went on to do RoboCop based off The Thing. It was a big movie for people involved, but people wanted the good Alien. I do love Starman.
Yeah, I do love Starman, yeah.
And that's another Nietzsche score as well. The guy who scored The Exorcist actually did the score for Starman, Jack Nietzsche.
It was okay. It
was okay.
Controversial.
I do. I love those three films too.
Yeah,
I really like them. They've got a style, but there is something amiss there. I really do like Village of the Damned. There's a great atmosphere to it. I really like the score for that with him and Shirley Walker. But I think it's him and Shirley Walker. But it was a really good score for that one. His scores are just as iconic as the films.
Oh yeah. I love Escape from New York, and that's one of my favorites. And we've talked before about Escape from LA, and I watched that a couple of months back, and for the first time in must be 30 years.
I absolutely unashamedly love Escape from LA. I absolutely love that film. I really love it. I love Map to the Stars, Eddie, Steve Buscemi. I love Cliff Robertson playing that terrible president. I'm a huge Stacy Keach fan. I love it. And I know that's for another time because everybody in the world argues with me on that one, but I love it.
He's been controversial. Should we kick him?
Mouth of Madness was rubbish. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love it, The Mouth of Madness. But I can see why. I mean, it's a departure from what he was doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. Gary. I think it is one of the only films Gary Kibbe ever wrote. Right, the guy from New Line, who was the producer at New Line, who kind of went off on his own. And I think Mouth of Madness. So it wasn't a Carpenter story, even though he loves H.P. Lovecraft. It was actually written by. I think.
Was it a Lovecraft source? Was it source from Lovecraft?
I don't think so. It was. It might be Gary Kibbe. It is campy comedy. I like the campness of it. I really do like the campness of Escape from LA. I think it's a really fun action movie. I kind of enjoy it in the same way we mentioned Commando earlier. I enjoy it in the same way I enjoy Commando. I love the motorbikes landing on the back of I love the sub. I just love the death by basketball, even though it's a rehash. I mean, it's a total, almost scene for scene remake of Escape from New York. You've got scenes that are almost identical. You know, he has to fight the wrestler in New York. He has to play basketball, and he meets the kind of surgeon of Beverly Hills, the Bruce Campbell character. But you've also got he meets Susan Hubley, and then he meets Cabby. You've got these different characters that are just kind of rehashes of New York. But I really do unashamedly love it, Elliot. I think it's a great film. But I understand it's not everybody's cup of tea. I really do, and I
No.
understand why people don't like it. Same with Mouth of Madness realm of horror. I can understand why people don't like it. Personally, it's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorite Carpenter films, I think. I'd put it up, at least top 5. I think Precinct 13 is my favorite. But I'd definitely put it up there with Halloween and Precinct 13 and The Fog and Escape from New York. I think will be my 5th, I think.
Interesting.
But I could, if you're interested on my thoughts on it, I've got a video on Mouth of Madness that I kind of talk through my appreciation of it and why I love the kind of Lovecraft stuff in it and how it's like an anti-yuppie film, which I really like because he did. Well, anyway, we need to get off Carpenter because we're running out of time. But Escape from New York, Memoirs of Invisible Man's kind of a yuppie film. And I think he wanted to get away from a yuppie hero, and he made Sam Neill like the total anti-yuppie hero. It's like he's a yuppie that he just goes to hell, pretty much.
Right. Well, my second to last peak. It's not a wild card. Well, it's a wild card for my last one.
I was enjoying the wild card ones. That was pretty cool to talk about Alejandro Jodorowsky.
Well, yeah, he wasn't a wild card.
Oh no. You might be talking to yourself on the next one, son. I was struggling to talk about Jodorowsky.
Well, okay, I'll give 2 clues. English director, turn of the century.
Turn of the century, English. One of the most famous?
Yes, very famous.
Turn of the century, right. So
as in last century.
Yeah, so 1900s.
Yes.
English, 1900s. So Hitchcock didn't come along until 20s.
Yeah. Well, this guy, his first real film was 1915.
1915.
This is a wild card.
Sunrise.
No.
1915. Griffiths?
He's American, is he not?
Is he American? Oh, he caused Birth of a Nation. Yep, so he's American. Yep. I'm just trying to go back to cinema school and thinking about all that.
Okay, you want a word too? Right. Tramp.
Flipping hell, man. Charlie Chaplin.
Yes. I won't spend long because you could talk
well, we've got 10 minutes, and I mean he's got a lot to talk about. Chaplin. I'm a Chaplin fan, luckily. So.
Okay, right. Basically, why I love Chaplin. It's just comedy. He's a genius.
Genius director.
Yes, as well. Yeah, and also he did great. Like he was in contemporary of Buster Keaton, and the two of them worked together in some films. But I think for Chaplin's filmography, especially now, bear in mind this is a controversial choice, maybe The Gold Rush.
Yes.
Is his best film.
It is an incredible film. It is.
Some people would say The Great Dictator. Some people would say Modern Times.
I like Modern Times. I think my favorite's Easy Street. When he becomes a police officer, I think it's one of the best directed films of that period. I think Easy Street. It's I just think it's unreal how he uses the frame, because a lot of it's locked off camera, but you feel like the camera's moving because he's so energetic. He's swinging around lampposts, jumping in and out of windows. He's incredible. I mean, he influenced Orson Welles. Wanted to become a director because of Chaplin. And you watch Welles' first film with Joseph Cotton, Too Much Johnson. He's trying to copy Chaplin. And I mean, Too Much Johnson. Yeah, they'll be online somewhere. I got it from I can't remember the distributor now, but I can do you. I managed to get a DVD copy, a Blu-ray copy of it recently. I can't remember the name of the label now, but I mean that's high praise indeed. I think Welles is not just me; he's considered one of the best filmmakers of all time, and he was trying to copy Chaplin, and you can see it blatantly. It's not Welles yet; he's trying to copy Chaplin.
I found it on YouTube, so
it's well worth a watch. Joseph Cotton's comedic performance is quite incredible in it. Some of the stunts are very Chaplin-esque. He's running up and down ladders. They're on pointy roofs. Some of it looks really dangerous. I think if there weren't 19 or 20-year-old guys, I would have struggled to do it.
I mean, the first time I was aware of Chaplin would have been the film with Robert Downey Jr.
I think the first time was The Kid. I think I saw The Kid. I think that was my first Chaplin film. And then I'd have seen Easy Street around that time because that was one of the first ones. So I love it. That's why I love it so much, because it blew us away. It made me realize that you don't have to move the camera.
Yeah.
You just need to understand story. How do you tell a story? You tell a story visually. And Chaplin's doing it with a camera locked off on a set of a street. And yet you're watching 20 minutes. There's maybe 2 or 3 cuts, but you're enthralled by the story. The story of Easy Street is he's skint. He's got no money. So he gets a job as a police officer and he thinks, I'm on Easy Street. But he has to fight the town bully, and the town bully's just knocking him out. And he's trying to figure out ways to get the town bully, because the town bully gets one over on him. But it's all set on the one street, Easy Street. It's just an incredible work of cinema. It really is. And it's because everything's choreographed, and he understood how to draw the eye with action. Same with Keaton. I mean, these are action guys. They really are. Their bodies are physical. These are very physical films that they made.
Yeah. Just reading what Simon says there, Harold Lloyd and Laurel and Hardy. Yeah, I 100% agree. They're good too.
Definitely, Laurel and Hardy, man. The Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. I still laugh my ass off when I watch Laurel and Hardy. I do. I love Way Out West, right? I just flip it.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And stuff like that.
Incredible. And I mean, they were all inspired by them. By all the guys, Karl Marx, what do you call them? The Marx brothers.
Oh, Groucho.
Groucho Marx, sorry, Karl Marx. Karl Marx was inspired by Chaplin.
Well, they were both communists.
True. They were both communists. But I definitely inspired by them. And I mean, all those great guys were. The comedians. I mean, they inspired, I argue, like I say, they inspire action. I mean, especially some of Chaplin's stunts in modern times. I mean, they're incredible. They're Jackie Chan-esque. I mean, I know Jackie Chan loved Keaton more than Buster Keaton more than Chaplin. But I mean, they inspired guys like Jackie Chan, with their stunts, and the just physicality of them is incredible works. Yeah, sorry, Realm of Horror. It was Groucho Marx. And I'm not even drinking tonight, believe it or not. Those great Karl Marx comedies.
Oh yeah. The Manifesto for one, that was a great show.
But no, it was the Groucho. I was thinking about Duck Soup and all that.
Yeah, Horse Feathers and
all those great ones.
Animal Crackers. Funny enough, actually, talking about the Marx Brothers, I always find physical comedy from that era really entertaining. But I've never seen a Marx Brothers film, properly.
I've seen a couple of them on the cinema. They used to show them as shorts in the same place I saw Plan 9 from Outer Space. I saw a lot of short stuff there. That's what got me into them, because they were showing them at that place. But I wouldn't know where to start, really. I mean, Groucho's, his comedy was really dry. It's there's Woody Allen's always paraphrasing him in his films, and it's like
I think with Groucho it was also kind of like bordering on disrespect.
Like
there's a scene. I think.
So you mean using makeup to black up and things, and
yeah.
He
was doing he was doing a quiz show, I think, and he was interviewing Ray Bradbury, and somebody else was basically teamed up with Ray Bradbury, but he was asked. He asked Bradbury about his upbringing.
It's a very.
I'll see if I can find it. Hang on.
He's got a very self-deprecating sense of humor at times.
Yeah, and that's why I like it, because I'm kind of the same myself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know what it is? I'll have to look some stuff up and send you some links. It's been a while since I've seen them, but it was like part of a cinema club I was at when I saw them as a teenager, and I really liked them. They did a great war movie. I wish I could remember the flipping name of it. But Charlie Chaplin's a great choice. That was a great choice, because I mean, it's the beginning of. I mean, it really is the beginning of. You're talking about people like George Méliès, and I mean, they're using the same techniques. and they're using the camera as a tool for the first time to do special effects. And I mean, these guys are the most influential filmmakers because we still use the techniques that Chaplin used today when we make films. I mean, it's the same language, it's the same tools. It's just some of the technology's changed, but we're still using the language that these guys invented. Especially with Keaton. I mean, the general's incredible, and but I think I prefer Charlie Chaplin to Buster Keaton.
I'm going to share this screen here. So,
okay.
Ray Bradbury?
Yes, sir.
Where are you from, Ray?
Waukegan, Illinois.
Waukegan, huh? How
Yes.
long ago?
35 years.
35. Well, Jack Benny was born in Waukegan about that time. Did you happen to know Jack?
No,
back there in
no,
Illinois?
I don't know him, but my mother went to school with Jack.
Why, that dirty crook, huh? What kind of a job do you have, Ray?
I'm a writer.
What kind of a rider? Pony Express, a motorcycle, or what?
Writer, W-R-I-T-E-R.
Oh, it's very refreshing. A writer who can spell. Well, you certainly can't be much of a writer. What have you written besides Notes to the Milkman?
Well, a number of books. One called Fahrenheit 451, one called The Martian Chronicles, another called The Golden Apples of the Sun, all from Doubleday. A lot of short stories for The New Yorker, The Post, Collier's, magazines of that sort.
Well, you're a real successful writer, huh? Well, have you done any other writing besides science fiction and short stories?
Yes, I've done one screenplay, the screenplay of Moby Dick for John Huston.
Oh, really? Well, that was a whale of a job, wasn't it, huh? Are you married, Ray?
Yes, I am.
Well, you're a very interesting couple, and I'd like to spend more time talking to you, but we've got to get down to some serious business. You're going to play You Bet Your Life.
Well, sorry, I didn't mute my mic. I was laughing there during the video.
it's okay. Don't worry about it. But that's kind of that kind of humor.
Yeah, it's all really fast humor.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, it's one-liners all the way.
Yeah. But yeah, that's me on Chaplin. So
that was a great choice, Chaplin. I mean, that's going right back to the nitty-gritty of it. The people who kind of started it all, in my opinion. Because, like I say, I'm a big action movie guy, and you don't have action cinema without Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin. You really don't.
Yeah. And Harold Lloyd, don't forget him as well. Safety Last. That image with the hanging from the clock.
Oh, it is. It's fantastic, isn't it? It really is.
Iconic, I think.
So next? What we're gonna do next?
Right.
We've gone through the whole history of it.
Well, we missed a few decades, but that's all right.
Well, what decade you at? Let's do. All right. So I'm just gonna look at a list. I've got a list.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to. Just say thank you.
Well, let's do Abel Ferrara.
Okay.
So I'm a big Abel Ferrara fan. He was big and influential, definitely, on me. Because I kind of saw his stuff in order as well. I saw Driller Killer first. And Driller Killer is one of those movies that just is so of its time. I would say of its moment more than of its time, because I still think it's a really good movie today, The Driller Killer. And to this day, it's still one of his most successful films, up there with King of New York, which he did with Christopher Walken in the early 90s. And he's had a career that I think is just getting better and better. I've enjoyed every film Ferrara's ever made. It's not like, and that's again, unironically, it's I don't just like the films because it's a director I admire. I think his films have gotten better and better. They become often more personal. But he did a work in, I think it was 2017 or maybe earlier, with Willem Dafoe and Pasolini, and Pasolini's one of his favorite directors. And halfway through it, he decides to realize Pasolini's last unmade film, and it just turns into this magical piece of cinema. But it's got the grittiness still of that young film student running around New York City making Driller Killer. Yeah. And his works always retain that. And he, in my opinion, similar to George Romero, is what I call a street level filmmaker. Not just because he made his films on the streets, but he never talks down to me. I feel like his films are highbrow. And that because of their ideas, they've got lofty ideas behind them. But he never talks down to his audience. You know, stuff like King of New York is full of great ideas and themes that grand, you know, they're grand themes.
Memorable scenes, I think, as well.
Well, memorable, I mean, it's as good as the downfall of Citizen Kane. It's got an epic feel to it, King of New York. But it still feels like a street level movie.
Yeah.
The same way The Bad Lieutenant does the same thing. It's got that grittiness of Driller Killer, the grittiness of Miss 45, which is getting a release from Arrow. So I'm really excited about that. Miss 45, if anyone hasn't seen it, is a great kind of grindhouse thriller. I'd put it in the same vein as what I spoke about Precinct 13. It's kind of an exploitation film, but it's just so beyond that. And I feel the same way about Driller Killer, that I think there's lots of ideas about there's always ideas about his Catholic religion in his films. So that there's these kind of grand ideas, but they're always done street level. And I love that about his work. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. Same reason Romero's up there too, you know, and Carpenter for those earlier works. They're making films to entertain us first and foremost, but they're also making films that have got something to say. And Ferrara has got something to say. He really has. There's something violent in his films. I think there's something cathartic in his films, or at least he's working towards something. And especially Bad Lieutenant, where yes, Realm of Horror, it's Angel of Vengeance. That's actually what's on the cover of my old VHS. Angel of Vengeance. I think it might have been what it was called here in the UK, Miss 45. The poster was better too for Angel of Vengeance. But it's they're just great films, and he literally these low budget beginnings. With he started in pornography, like a lot of filmmakers did. You know, I mean, I remember watching him get interviewed, and he was talking about his he did 9 Lives of a Wet Pussy, if I'm allowed to say that. That was the name of the film. That was. But it was mainstream at the time. People like Coppola were involved, you know, in films like this. Debbie Does Dallas and Deep Throat did more than Jaws. You know, people don't realize that. And he comes from that street mentality. He's making films to get made, to get to the next film. And he's always doing that. And I love that about his career. He never stopped. Eventually, he got to the 90s. He does a remake, which some people hate, of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. He does King of New York and Bad Lieutenant while he's waiting to make this film. That's how fast he thinks and moves. 2 iconic films. I mean, you get someone like Tarantino talking about how influential Bad Lieutenant and King of New York were on him, you know, and he's working with Keitel around the same time. So you get that kind of 1-2 punch that I think will make sure that he's in the annals of film history forever.
Yeah.
I think horror fanatics like us will love him for Driller Killer, which I do. There's just a ferocious energy to Driller Killer that, I mean, it's almost like the camera's running at you sometimes. He's literally running through the streets of New York. There's that, you know, the famous getting caught up in the video nasties thing. But it was, for me, a lot of the video nasty stuff, which I love. I'm a big video nasties fan. You know, I mean, it gave me a list of films that I had to watch. You know, so I tried to see them all. And I did in the end. Section 3 is included. But there's something that just elevates Driller Killer a little bit above some of the ones that I probably wouldn't have seen if they hadn't been banned in the first place.
Yeah.
It was like he was always going to make another film. He wasn't going to make Driller Killer and then tap out if it didn't do anything. He was always going to make the next film. And he always is. And I love that about Ferrara's work. There's a fierce originality to everything he does. Every film is unique in some way. He did a great film called Siberia a few years back, 2021, I think, with Willem Dafoe, which is a masterpiece. He shoots these beautiful snowscapes, but there's these grand ideas of poetry in there, but you can still see the grittiness of Bad Lieutenant in it. It's still about following this character through these difficult times and these difficult rooms and difficult memories, and you're living inside of this guy's head in Siberia, And the same with Bad Lieutenant. I mean, Ken Kelch's cinematography in Bad Lieutenant, it just follows him around the city. It's so relentless. You know, you feel like you're walking beside him. And Ken Kelch did a lot of great cinematography with him. I think he did the original ones as well with Miss 45 and Driller Killer. I think they were film school buddies, him and Ken Kelch. And he had a great team of editors, and he always talks about it as we. He never says, I did this, I did that. I love it in interviews. He always says, we did this, we did that, what we were trying to do. And he cites people like Nicholas Ray and Cassavetes and Pasolini as influences, but there's nothing kind of what you'd call pretentious about his work at all. Like I say, grand ideas.
Yeah.
But people under anybody else's eye as a director, I think some of the works would be pretentious. But he just brings something to it that's gritty and real and fierce. And there's something about his attitude that I just love. He did a film called Zeros and Ones during the pandemic. And it's quite incredible to see the empty streets. He got Ethan Hawke in there, and he films the empty streets of Rome. It's got this beautiful kind of, but he decides to do an espionage film in these empty streets. Totally crazy idea, you know. But he makes it a huge canvas. And Ferrara's always been one of the most influential filmmakers to me because similar to Romero and similar to the French Connection, kind of kinetic filmmaking, the documentary style. Because when I saw stuff like Driller Killer, like Night of the Living Dead, and like French Connection, I said, I can do this. You know, I don't need jibs. I don't need steady cams. I can literally pick up a camera and shoot. And Ferrara inspired me that way in the most influential way, because he inspired me to want to pick up a camera and shoot. And I'll always love his cinema for that, especially the earlier ones, because Driller Killer just felt so gritty and so I could make this on my street.
Yeah, I was going to say it were like that and King of New York. We were very gritty and raw.
Yeah. To
a degree, especially King of New York.
King of New York's beautiful. Borean Bazzelli, the cinematography in that film is incredible. I mean, he went on to do Body Snatchers with him, and I love the way Body Snatchers looks. It's the biggest budget film he did, the remake of Body Snatchers, Ferrara, and I absolutely love that remake. I mean, I love both remakes. The 78 one, not so much the Invasion, the later one, but I love the Kaufman one from 78, and I love Ferrara's from 94 or 93.
I think it was 93, yeah.
Great filmmaker. One of my favorites. I'll put him top 5. Ferrara will be in my top 5 of all time.
Cool.
Influential in the most important way that it made me want to pick up a camera and shoot. And I'll always thank him for that forever. Cool. Deep, man, I know, but it's that his films like Miss 45 and Driller Killer and you know, Bad Lieutenant, and they're that important to me. They really are that important to me.
That's cool.
And that influential.
Well, my last pick, I'm torn between two. And I can't talk about both of them, so.
Well, why not? Just go for it.
No, that wouldn't be fair. Wouldn't be fair, so I'm going to have to flip a coin again. Come down, you fucker. Okay. Heads is one, tails is other. Tails. Okay. Damn coin. I think it's two sides, tails. Right. Okay. I'm sure you've heard of this director. I'm not going to give clues because it's you might have heard of him, you might not have. But Jim Sheridan. So
Jim Sheridan, in the name of the Father, Jim Sheridan.
Yes.
And did 50 Cent Get Rich or Die Trying.
Yes.
And did he also do that great one with Paddy Considine with a family in New York?
Yeah, in America.
In America. I think they're the only 3 of his works I know, I think.
Okay.
I think.
Right. Well, he's done a couple, you know, obviously being Irish, he's done a couple of Irish films and the like. But the standout to me, and it's for personal reasons, is The Field.
Ah, that's Richard Harris, The Field.
Yes, yeah.
Right, I do know that. Yes, I do.
Yeah. Now, when I was in secondary school, we did that play, and I played one of the parts which the part that John Hurt played in the film, the Bird O'Donnell. But to me, you talked about Tom Berenger earlier. He was in that as well.
Yes, that's why I watched it. Because Tom Berenger, I forgot. Yeah, Tom Berenger. That's why I watched it, because he's one of my favorites after Rutger Hauer. He's my favorite action star. So that's why I watched it.
Yeah, I don't think it would have worked if there was a director from outside Ireland, because Sheridan gets the rural County Kerry ambience, the small town attitude. The widow Quinn, she's going to sell the land, and she has to put it in public auction. The story is timeless in Ireland.
Yeah,
it's always about land.
Yeah,
it still is to a certain degree, modern times as well.
It is all over now. I mean, you look at what happened in Los Angeles recently with the fires, and now people are kind of trying to buy the land. It's always about land.
Yeah,
and it is a timeless tale. It's about the rich, the haves versus the have-nots.
Yeah,
it's about the working class people who this land should be theirs because it's been willed to them by their family. It's their blood,
Yeah,
and it's in their blood, and the rich try to take it away from you because they've got everything and they just want more.
And you see, the original play by John B. Keane, it is very much like rich versus poor, outsider versus local.
Yeah.
And I would say out of the whole cast, it would be not unkind to say Sean Bean's the weak link.
I can't remember him in the film. I really can't. It's been that long.
Harris's son.
Right. Well, obviously he wasn't that. I couldn't remember him, so obviously.
Well, put it this way: his Yorkshire accent is more pronounced than his Irish accent. And when Richard Harris is from Limerick, and is set in County Kerry, which is a bordering county, you kind of see the reasoning.
Yep.
Why he was cast, but then when you see Sean Bean, it's a bit like, okay, is this guy spent more time in England than Ireland? And then John Hurt does a really good impression, or a really good Irish accent, I have to say.
Yeah.
But the star of the show is Tom Berenger.
God, it's a hell of a cast, though.
That
really is a hell of a cast.
And the Yank, as I say in the film, the Yank.
Berenger.
Yeah. It's timeless, and I could talk about Name of the Father for its pro-nationalist sensibilities, and
it's the first time I saw Pete Postlethwaite.
Yeah,
it was the first film I saw him in. I think it might have been. No, it wasn't. I saw My Left Foot first, but I think it was My Left Foot and then In the Name of the Father. That's when I thought, okay, strap your seatbelt in here. This actor's incredible. So Daniel Day-Lewis was when was that? Was that early 90s?
My Left Foot is 89.
89. And then In the Name of the Father is 94.
93.
93. Right.
And the video was 90.
It was just everywhere. The video was everywhere in the Name of the Father. It was one of those, I think like every house had it, didn't it? It was just one of those really big films. And obviously parachuted Jim Sheridan to fame because he was able to go to the States and make films like Get Rich or Die Trying.
Yep. Well, that was 2000s, like
2000s, which is a really excellent film, I think. I really like Get Rich or Die Trying. I think it's a really good story, that. I presume that's what Sheridan saw in it. Saw the story of somebody who had to work really hard, and 50 Cent did work really hard, and he didn't have an easy life. But and it was a good. I mean, I don't know how fictionalized the story was, because how much of the hype do you believe? But I can see someone like Sheridan seeing that in it, seeing the same kind of story as something like In the Name of the Father, which is a great story for everyone, and everyone will understand it.
Yeah. Well, in America, it was very autobiographical.
It's a really good movie, that, as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Paddy Considine, right?
Yeah. And Jimon Husson.
He's a great actor.
Samantha Morton. Yeah. And he works with good people.
Well, exactly. I mean, they're the ones I remembered because of the just great films, great casts, really well made. I mean, it's not like, and they had big budgets too, I would imagine.
Not really, no.
No?
No. Out of the whole, I think Name of the Father had the most,
Right.
and that was maybe about 3 million.
Well, I remember just having a really wide release because that movie was everywhere.
Yeah.
That'll have been the first one as I saw. That'll have been the first Jim Sheridan film I saw. And I ended up seeing The Field because of Berenger.
Yeah.
So he was picking the right people to work with.
Mm.
And like I say, I really do like Get Richard I Trying. I think it's a really well-made film. There's some, I mean, that's a great cast as well. You know, it was a cast.
He did a can't remember the name of it now. He did a horror.
I haven't seen it.
Richard I Trying. Let's see, Jim Sheridan horror.
Was it Half Light? Was it called Half Light?
No.
I don't know why Half Light popped into my brain there. But I mean, thinking back, I mean, in the Name of the Father, you'd mix that in there with something like Mike Lee or
yes.
That kind of realist film.
Kitchen sink dramas.
Yeah, but entertaining and cinematically interesting.
Yes.
Well-directed things. I mean, people forget, when you talk about the kind of neo-realism of these films by people like Sheridan or Ken Loach. These really know what they're doing too. I mean, they're directed to move the camera for a reason.
Yeah.
I was watching Mike Lee's Naked a couple of weeks ago.
A good show that.
And I mean, I love the energy of it. Like the first scene, the camera just runs at the action, and it's literally the camera operator running down the street with the camera. And these are directors who think very cinematically. They're telling kitchen sink stories, but there's a reason why they're not working in television anymore. They've got cinematic minds.
Yeah.
They're really trying to tell us cinematic stories, and I definitely put Sheridan up there with that. I think from ththose films that I know of his, those 3 or 4.
Yeah. Dream House was the film I was thinking of.
I've never seen it, Dreamhouse. I'll have to check it out. I'm a big horror fan.
Daniel Craig, Naomi Watts, Rachel Weisz, Martin Sokas.
Not the biggest Daniel Craig fan, but I'll check it out.
So that's my picks.
That's great. Jim Sheridan was a cool one. I mean, that was, like I say, that was everywhere. And The Name of the Father was definitely, I mean, that must have propelled Pete Postlethwaite and Daniel Day-Lewis into the mainstream, right? I mean, did Daniel Day-Lewis get Mohicans off the back of that?
No, that was after. He did Mohicans before.
Right.
Mohicans was 92.
So that must have been the one that made Daniel Day-Lewis then.
No, actually, it wasn't. It was My Left Foot because he won an Oscar first.
Ah, right. So My Left Foot's 89. Then he goes and does Mohicans with Michael Mann in like 91, 92.
91, 92,
God,
yeah.
That's 3 great films off the bat, that, isn't it?
I
mean, that's great. It was.
I like Daniel Day-Lewis as an actor too. So.
He's great. I mean, he did a couple of comedies early on I really liked, but I mean, I wasn't as enamored with Mohicans as everybody else. I think it's a bit long, but when you get to that last 10 minutes, it's really worth it. Like the last,
to be honest with you,
the last 10 minutes of Mohicans is as cinematic as filmmaking gets. When Mag was on the cliff and the girl steps off and Daniel Day-Lewis runs along and picks up the 2 short rifles, kills a guy, shoots the guy with the other one, jumps up, gets the guy with a tomahawk, that diddle, and the music's playing. It's so cinematic that the kind of waiting game you had to play, I think, for the first 2 hours pays off.
Yeah.
But I think the last 10 minutes of Mohicans is about as cinematic as cinema gets. I mean, that's up there with Ben-Hur, and I think the most cinematic of the epics. That last 10 minutes is incredible, and it's Daniel Day-Lewis's performance that does it. I mean, it's really, really great. And that last that ending is really incredible. It really is. And I mean, I can see it, and there's not many films you can just see when you remember it. But I can see the musket smoke and the slow motion running and jumping, and it's her falling off the cliff in slow motion, and the old man who is the last Mohican when his son gets killed. It's Hawkeye's brother, stepbrother. It's just incredible, that last 10 minutes. But it was Day-Lewis's performance, and that's really, really great. As it is in The Name of the Father.
Yeah,
it's a true story. I mean, it is incredible. So was the hunger strike, right?
Yeah, no. Birmingham's Guildford 4.
Guildford 4, yep. Incredible. There was another film that was about the criminals I loved was the Cahill one that John Borman made, The General. That's another one of my favorite ones.
Yeah.
That was great. That was the first time I saw Brendan Gleeson. But anyway, sorry, I'm getting off track. But
No, it's okay. I have it somewhere over there. So
it's great, The General. That's a really magnificent film.
I love the fact that with that he kind of inserted his own story into it, because Cahill, whatever you want to say.
I tried to steal his car or something, right? I stole some of his artwork.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I stole some of his artwork. Right?
Yeah,
that's really cool. Joe Bowman's he's one of my heroes. Bowman. I mean, you can call that Exorcist 2 all you want. It was just a bit of a mess, but for the rest, but for me, I love Zardoz. but for the rest of Bowman's work, I mean, I'd love to do a stream on Bowman if you want. I'm not into him.
Oh yeah,
I've read all of his books. I'm a really big Bowman fan. I actually have a great book on The Exorcist 2, the making of it, which is fantastic, which was written by someone who was on set at the time. And they could actually see how bad it was, and they were saying, but to tell you why in the book, it's a really, really good read for any cinema fans. It's just called The Making of The Exorcist II: The Heretic, but it was released in the same time. It must have been around the same time as the movie came out. It's it's a great book, similar to the Bonfire the Vanities book. That's really great because you can see why the film didn't work. And I'm really glad the film was made just so that book could get written. It's a really good book. But yeah, minis. I mean, the invasion, the later invasion with Craig and Nicole Kidman. It has its moments. I really love the bit in the store at the end. I think it's cinematically great. I don't know about finding the cure and stuff, but it has its moments. It does. But Ferrera's one, I mean, it was what I got the video when I was a kid. I was a teenager at the time. Or at least I was getting to the age, and I've really related to the main character in that, the Gabrielle Anwar character in Ferrer's Body Snatchers. I saw that Nexus 2 show the bomb and obviously knew where to find truly excellent weed. And I bet that weed was green and blue and pink, just like the bread in Zardoz. I bet there was some acid getting thrown about as well.
No doubt.
I would imagine. Yeah, I mean, he's a hippie. Going back to people like Carpenter and stuff who've got these kind of anti-authoritarian messages in their work. I mean, these guys came from that time. Acid was legal until the late 60s. So everybody was taking it. And I think it did affect some of these great filmmakers. And I mean, Bowman's kind of an earth child. I mean, it's in Deliverance. I did a video about Deliverance a while ago, which is still one of my most popular ones, where I did some reading about it, and it was kind of Bowman saying this scene of SA in this film that happens is what we're doing to the environment. This is what it symbolizes, you know? And so Deliverance is kind of a film about us wrecking the environment, and, you know, it starts off with us blowing a dam up, and that's kind of exactly what happens to the character in the movie. It's a metaphor for what we're doing to the earth. I just love his work. I've always loved it. I mean, I've talked myself around to like an Exorcist 2 because
I love it.
because I like his work so much. So and I guess we're going against the grain there because and I can see why, because it's a mess. And being a sequel to The Exorcist, it doesn't work at all. I mean, the Exorcist sequels in themselves, Paul Schrader directed a one. Paul Schrader is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. He directed a one, and I can see that. I can see the majesty in that because I kind of understand the director's work a little bit. But it's when you start to study these films, and you know, Exorcist 2, if it wasn't Exorcist 2, I think we'll be thinking about it, like you said, Realm of Horror, as a cool, trippy movie. But because it's an Exorcist sequel, I mean, it's nowhere near The Exorcist. You know, I mean, in terms of themes or the impact of it, but it's a quirky, weird, stoner version of The Exorcist by somebody who had no interest in making a horror movie whatsoever, I think. But all that's in the book, and I know it's a really interesting read, but it's a mess of a film. But in my mind, it's a beautiful mess. I think, you see, for me, it is, you know, trashy film, but the reason why I love it is it doesn't copy what made The Exorcist good. It doesn't. It doesn't. That's
It doesn't go into
Bourman never did.
Right, but it's got Richard Burton on autopilot, as I always say.
And at that time, he did a few.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just drinking his way through his roles, I think, at that point.
Yes, yeah. And then you got James Earl Jones as Kakumo.
But to say that, I don't mean to be derogatory to Richard Burton, because I think some of those drinking his way through those movies are pretty excellent. He did a movie called The Medusa Touch around the same time, which I absolutely love. I mean, love. I love that film. And even though he was drinking his way through it, I think he was still had that twinkle in his eye before it went totally out in his last couple of films.
Yeah.
But I think that twinkle was still there when he was doing these movies.
Well, ironically, his most sober performance, apart from this, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, would have been 1984.
Aye.
You know? I think Maitland's film guide described it as Linda Blair is still possessed and Richard Burton does his worst to save her. Yeah, that's a fair.
There's just some moments, man. There's just a moment where there's the two versions of Linda Blair at the end. There's the possessed version and her real self, and she just looks at them and it's just awful. It is. It's like I don't know what they were thinking, but I'm trying to remember the line.
So I could let the dog out.
It's just really terrible. But I mean, it's worth doing a whole stream about the Exorcist sequels too. I mean, it's a crazy story, that whole franchise. It's a really interesting franchise. Probably got the most not Wolfgang Peterson. Rennie Harlan did a remake of Paul Schrader's version because the studio didn't think it worked, and they did the beginning. Right, that didn't work, so they released Dominion anyway. Which is really strange. You've got The Exorcist the beginning, which is obviously not The Exorcist the beginning, Believer.
Yeah.
Which is just totally like kick the franchise in another direction, that they've postponed the next two sequels. I'm really looking forward to see what they do next, because they're obviously trying to think about it. It's a crazy franchise, and it's up there with like Psycho and the fact that they just go everywhere on this franchise. They go everywhere.
Exorcist 3, total brilliant film.
Oh, brilliant thriller. Peter Blatty directed two movies, and they're both excellent. The Ninth Configuration is a movie. Actually, I've done a video about that on the Boneyard. I love that movie. I've got Mark Kermode to thank for that. He because of the Exorcist stuff, I remember him recommending that to me. It must have been mid-90s, maybe. He did a book about it for the BFI as well. And I was just like, Ninth Configuration. The guy who wrote Exorcist directed a movie, and it's a beautifully insane film. Similar to the same reason I love Zardoz, it's a beautifully insane film, The Ninth Configuration. But Exorcist 3, which I've seen about 3 or 4 different cuts of, I think. It's always been good. I've always enjoyed it. I really have. It's a great film, Exorcist 3. Exorcist 2 was supposed to be about the clash between ancient religions and modern technology, but it turned out to be a mishmash of different ideas that amounted to nothing. It does. It's a mess. It really is a mess of a film. It is. It's great fun. Ninth Configuration was actually great fun. It starts off Peter Blatty wrote A Shot in the Dark. He was writing comedies back in the day. He was writing the Inspector Clouseau comedies. He wrote A Shot in the Dark. So he understood comedy pretty well. And it starts off like a slapstick comedy. The guy's walking around with no pants on, trying to find his pants for the first 10 minutes of the movie. And and then it takes a real dark turn. There's a point in the movie where it just turns left and it goes insanely dark. And then perhaps gives us one of the most positive messages in cinema history. I love Ninth Configuration. I think it's a great.
And that I would always call it the unofficial sequel.
I don't want to do spoilers for it because I want people to say that without knowing anything about it.
No, I'm not going to give spoilers, but
because it's so incredible.
Unofficial sequel to The Exorcist.
It is, yeah. It's there's actually.
If you've read the book,
you'll get it. And seen the film. I mean, but they don't say the guy's name in the film. So you're right. You have to read the book.
But the thing, I'm not going to go spoilers, but the main character in Ninth Configuration is in the Exorcist film.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
He's called Captain Cutshaw.
Spoiler.
Well, it's not.
Spoilers!
Well, it's not because they don't say his name in the movie.
Yeah.
They don't say his name in The Exorcist. Yeah,
And
it's
that's,
like you
if
see
you
that.
look in the film when Linda Blair's Reagan says, "You're going to die up there," that plays in his mind. That's why he chickens out of the.
That guy.
Yeah.
Ah, that guy.
That,
What a
that
weird
guy.
spin-off. But it's great. I think it's one of the best sequels of all time, even though it is a really loose sequel. I mean, Terminator 2,
Mm.
I've always thought was a really good one. I mean, there's loads of good sequels, but I think Configuration, if you do wrap it up in the Exorcist franchise, which I do, I
Yeah.
think it's one of the best sequels ever.
Mm. Great imagery too.
Ah, it's beautiful.
The dream, like it's just out there.
It's why it's so unusual that you get someone as cinematic minded as Bloody, because Legion's a very beautiful looking film too. I mean,
Yes.
those beautiful scenes coming through the streets of Georgetown in the opening, it's incredible. It's really scary, Exorcist 3, I think. And not just for the really famous jump scare. There's some moments that sent chills down us.
But it's also very funny.
It is. That's his writing. I mean, that
Ed Sanders and George C. Scott and
Kinderman.
great chemistry.
George C. Scott's actually my favorite actor. I think if I had to pick a few actors, he would be on my list of favorite actors of all time. I love George C. Scott. Another crazy character, very troubled soul, but never gave a half-assed performance ever. Every performance he ever did. I mean, he was the same as Burton. He was a big alcoholic and he was drinking his way through a lot of his films in the 70s and 80s. But you still get performances like Peter Medak's The Changeling, and he does They Might Be Giants. He does these amazing films. And I mean, it's the first time, I'll just tell a quick story about Scott. He's in a movie called The Hustler by Norman Jewison, which is a Paul Newman film. Jackie Gleason, it's a fantastic movie.
To Color of Money.
All right, so it's another great sequel, probably another one of my favorite sequels, Color of Money. It's great to see Fast Eddie again. But George C. Scott's in the background of The Hustler with the dark glasses on, and he's kind of the heavy. And even as a young film fan, this is one of the films that made me fall in love with him, along with Dr. Strangelove, is that I was watching George C. Scott, and I realized consciously that I was watching him in the scene and not Gleason or Newman. And I should have been watching Gleason or Newman because they were the stars and they were playing the game of pool that was the whole thing. And I was watching George C. Scott, and I mean, I just thought, who is that guy? And I fell in love with him, and because of that reason, he's been one of my favorite actors. He taught me, I mean, I love Brando, but I think Scott does what Brando does even better, which is that he knows that if you move a pair of glasses, or you lift an eyebrow, or you move your eyes differently, or you move your hand a certain way, it can look like a mountain moving on the screen. And he's just, in my opinion, he's just the master of doing that. I just look, he's so real and everything. And I mean, he loses his temper a lot, but I think it's real when he does in The Exorcist 3.
Yeah.
When he's trying to work his way through the loss of his friend. And God, it's such a powerful performance.
Yeah. And, it's like when he's talking to his colleagues about the Gemini killer.
Yeah.
And, and then he's another scene, he's talking about carp.
Yeah.
Swimming
around in the bathtub. Can you smell it?
Yeah.
I haven't had a bath for 3 days.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Because there's a carp.
That's the comedy, but he delivers it straight.
He's just powerful.
Yeah.
He is, but he can be, for him being a mountain of a man. There's some films like Islands in a Stream that he made about his. He's a great actor. He can be the most tender. I mean, he's in my favorite Christmas Carol. He played my favorite Scrooge, other than Bill Murray, because Richard Donner Scrooge is amazing. But he's just always been one of my favorites. And Exorcist 3, I think, really shows off his skill that even at that point in his career, when he was getting towards the end of his career, he was still, in my opinion, one of the greatest screen actors in Exorcist 3.
Don't forget Rainbird.
Rainbird and Firestarter. I could do a whole stream on Firestarter. I love that film. I mean, it's like I say, Lester, I just wish he had a bit more of that finesse.
Yeah.
But he always makes brilliant films. Class of 1999, like I say, Firestarter and Commando, these are really great films. And I think Firestarter, I mean, we talked about it on the Stephen King stream, is one of my favorite favorite Stephen King movies. I absolutely love Firestarter. I think it's
Yeah.
I've got the original poster for it. I love the score by Dream, Tangerine Dream, TD. They're amazing, perfect for the film. But that film's just got a heart to it. There's a heart to Firestarter, which I absolutely adore. And I mean, Rainbird, he's a mixed up character and he's evil, but there's a touching side to him. And Scott can do that. He can make you question a character. I mean, when he's crying and stuff, when he's trying to fool Charlie and he's telling other stories about how he's afraid of the dark, and he's a twisted, strange character, and you forget that he's playing a Native American. It's but he's got that ponytail and he's kind of pulling it off because he's such a great actor. He's really cool, man. George C. Scott, and I mean, I could talk about him forever. His performances are, I mean, there's just one after another great performances. He did Hardcore for Schrader, which is kind of playing Schrader's father, and it's a great performance. And Hardcore is kind of a forgotten film because it's not one of Schrader's best, but George C. Scott's performance in it is Oscar worthy. And I mean, he directed a few great movies. Rage, Islands in a Stream was one he directed as well. He directed a great film about a shipwrecked family where the kid starts to like sexually mature and he has to have a fight with his own son. It's a twisted film, but a great film. And he's just, there's so many facets to the guy. Yeah. He's just, he always surprises us. It's not many actors do that. You know, I think he was a real treasure of cinematic acting. I'm sure he's a great stage actor too. I never got to see him on stage, but one of my favorite actors of all time. It's worth a watch. Realm of Horror Firestarter. In my opinion, it's a great film. Not everybody thinks that though, so it might just be, you know, my being kind of nostalgic with it because it's a film I've spent my whole life with, but I love it. Charlie's played by Drew Barrymore. She gives a great performance in it. She was a great child actress. I grew up into a fantastic screen actress, I think, as well later. But you got George C. Scott in there. Keith David plays her father. Brilliant in the role who plays Andy. Martin Sheen's in there. It's a film full of great performances. Art Carney, Louise Fletcher. Soundtrack's brilliant. I really do love it, and I'm bigging it up so much that you're probably going to think it's awful now if you do give it a go. But I just love it. I think it's one of Stephen King's the best adaptations, and it is a very straight adaptation. They don't mess around much with the source material. Sorry, we just went off on a massive tangent there about George C. Scott, didn't I?
That's okay.
But he is a huge influence in terms of actors, so I guess it's along those lines. He kind of flavored my whole life of why I like actors and who I like and why I like them, because I was kind of spoiled because I saw him in The Hustler so young and realized he's doing something that makes him different. That's what good actors do, and he always did. I think McQueen had it too. McQueen had that same kind of, Steve McQueen had that same kind of thing that drew me to him. He was always doing something. Yeah, but let's so are we gonna wrap it up? Because that's it, I think.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, everybody who took part.
I'm sorry for ending it on a rant about George C. Scott.
Oh God, if you're going to apologize every time, well, you don't have to. It's all good. It's all good. And have a good one, lads and lassies and non-binary pals.
And thanks everyone for joining us. We've had a great chat. Thanks for getting involved, Realm of Horror and Minty, and Perry was in the chat earlier on. Perry, and Adam. It's been a fantastic chat. Thanks very much. I've really enjoyed talking to everyone.
Yeah, I hope. And if you have any ideas, feel free to put it in the comment below or future streams yourselves if you want to talk about anything or want us to talk about anything. Okay, Sai. Great chat. Night all.
Good night. Thanks for putting it on, Kerry. I've had a great time. And remember, anyone that watches, remember to check out Boneyard Cinema.
Yes, and Boneyard Music.
And they're my other channels. Sorry to do a shameless plug, but
that's all right.
All right, Boneyard Cinema.
You can owe me next time.
You can do it next time.
Okay, guys, take it easy. Have a good weekend. The rest of the weekend.